Magnificat anima mea Dominum,
et exultat spiritus meus in Deo salutarim meum,
quia respexit humilitatem ancile sue, ex enim ex hoc beata medicent omnes generationes.
quia fecit me magna qui
My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior.
Et misericordia eius a progenie in progenies dimentibus eum.
fecit potentiam in brachio suum, dispersit superbos mente cordis sui,
Deposuit potentes tessere, et exaltavit humile.
Surientes simple diponis, et divit est misit in anne.
Suscepit Israel puerum suum, recordatos misericordiae suae.
Sicut locutus estat Patris nostros, Abraham et semies in saecula.
All right, we are live, everybody. We're going to have a great time tonight, or morning, or wherever you're tuning in. We're going to be talking about all things encyclical related, man, in due time and good time. Brother Stephen, how you been, my friend? You excited?
Good. Yeah. I was just reading this morning. I thought, oh, this will be a little short, a little read, and then it's like, oh, it's still going, and it's still going.
Oh
So,
yeah,
but I enjoyed it. It was a good read.
you read the whole thing. I read the whole thing as well.
Whole thing.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I really did like it. Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to the audience. Whatever questions you all may have, let us know. We'd love to dive in. We'd love to answer them. TJ says, I can really tell it'll be a great stream. Well, you're here, man, so it'll be a great one. And shout out to AB. He says, God bless you, brethren. AB just had a newborn son, I believe. Congratulations, AB. Glad that you're able to tune in right now, man. You must be, things must be hectic for you, but glad to have you here, brother. God bless you, my friend. And I'm sure you've heard good things and bad things about it, haven't you?
Yeah, I've heard quite a few because there's people, and this is what's always interesting to me about these encyclicals is that some people, you read one news article and you go, wow, that was really good, and they focus on the positive. One group will focus on all the negatives, and then one group will completely misrepresent. I don't know if it's intentionally or unintentionally, but there's always that misrepresentation. It's like, oh, the Pope said this, and it's like, yeah. That is not what he said. Like, I don't even know where you got that from, but it's kind of crazy when you start looking at articles that are put out. And I'm always skeptical when people have written entire articles within a 24-hour period.
Sure.
I mean, we're going to be commenting on it and kind of like working through it as we read it out loud, but
not
to write
an article
something and respond to it and already have a full-fledged answer to all the problems that are in it, it's like, yeesh, it's hardly been out. I mean,
a little bit wild. Yeah, a little bit wild. I agree with you there. How do you have time to go through the whole thing? I'm still going through it. I've read a number of parts over and over. Now, I'll tell you what stuck out for me in the meantime, and we'll take you all's questions. What is anything stuck out for you all? Have you all read it yet? And if you've read it, what are your thoughts? Do anybody in the audience, do you all have any concerns? Or are there things that really stuck out that you really liked? Now, I really enjoyed for what stuck out for me was where he writes, humanity created by God in all its grandeur is today facing a pivotal choice, either to construct a new Tower of Babel or to build a new city, or to build a city in which God and humanity dwell together. Now,
Mhm.
for me, I like that there because that's already, now as one who does a lot of work in Christology, that is deeply Christological because the answer to Babel is communion with God. And the document over and over repeatedly returns to that mystery of Christ as the revelation of man. Only in the mystery of the Word made flesh does the mystery of the human person become clear, and that really is straight from Gaudium et Spes. Now applying that to AI, the key Christological point that I liked and I got from that is AI really does not cannot reveal man. It really is the incarnate Word that reveals man. And I
Mhm.
enjoyed that particular portion. What are your thoughts? Did you go over that? Do you think anything about that?
Yeah, I think this was an important encyclical for his first because he believes that God has called him to be the Pope for
Yes.
this very thing. Yeah, I remember he chose Pope Leo the 14th after his predecessor, Leo the 13th, who was after the rise of the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
And he believed that things were going to be replacing humans. I mean, this is where the whole thing in the early 1900s and what we find all through this new technological era had come into play. He believes in this side of history, he was placed in the Vatican for the AI age. And
Right.
so this being his first encyclical, and he was of no short in this. I mean, it was a
Sure.
long, long writing, shows
Hmm.
how long and how hard he's actually thought about this subject before he actually publishes his view on it. But I do really
Yeah.
appreciate the two analogies that he gives. Basically, we're in a world now where you're going to be building one of two things. You're going to be building the Tower of Babel, or you're going to be building the New Jerusalem that's getting built. He used Nehemiah as an example, going back and taking that which was broken and repairing it, or
Right.
working on Babel. So I really like that he talked about like a tale of two cities. You're either building the kingdom of God or you're going to be building something that's going to defy God.
Right.
And it kind of eliminates neutral, like there's no neutral ground here. You're
Yeah.
either working on this project or that project. And he demonstrated how AI has become extremely dangerous
No doubt.
to the image of God itself, where it is replacing the uniqueness of God's image bearing in us. And it's a fire. I mean, that's
It
going to be
is.
very difficult to put out in our society.
It already is. It already is difficult to put out. And I mean, he warns very clearly there that he explicitly warns against a future that would create humans of second class. Now
Mm,
that's worrisome. But what does it mean ultimately? I understood Pope Leo to mean that he is rejecting, and you tell me your thoughts, a technological vision that would redefine humanity apart from God. And he says, technology is not a force antagonistic to humanity, and it's not inherently evil. So the church, number one, contrary to what some people may say, I have not yet heard it, but I wouldn't be shocked if I hear it soon. The church is not anti-technology,
no.
not at all. She's anti dehumanization. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and he uses that word. In fact, he talks about human dignity is threatened by forms of really dehumanizing our culture. So
Yes.
he actually uses that word in his writings. And he's not saying, and he even clarified that these things can be used for good. Like there are
Sure.
good things that can be done from technology. Obviously, reading this encyclical in 2026 didn't come without technological advancement. All of
Right.
us are reading it right now. I mean, put yourself in the 17th century or in the 15th century when a papal encyclical or papal bull is released. how
Yeah.
much time and how many people could not get access to it. We're pulling it up and reading it. We're writing articles within 24 hours of it releasing. I mean,
We're doing a show. We're doing a show right now.
that's
Yeah.
right. So obviously there's not a knock on the technological advancement of our human abilities that is used for good. But the key word, and you said it, and he said it in the encyclical, to dehumanize.
Yes.
That is, and I think we need to define that. And that is to take what God has created in his image and called good, and it's
Yep.
meant to reflect God's fullest glory, and to remove elements of that where we're taking away from God's glory and we're taking away from God's image bearing, and we're
Yep.
reflecting something that's artificial that he did not say was good, because the way he created it was good, and it's
Sure.
removing that narrative, and it's causing God, it's causing us to look at God differently and look at humans differently. Because when we start doing that, humans just become a number, or
Yep.
they just become something that's, an object. It's either an object in the way or an object to use for my own advantage.
Sure.
And humans just become no different than a robot, and that's problematic.
That is problematic. That is a big issue that, yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think the more and more that we look at this, the more and more I read it, I'm looking at particular notes I made. I enjoyed that the Pope really does, he refuses both extremes, that technology is savior and that the technology is evil. Instead, we need to look towards technology under Christ. And there's a lot of good that can be done in terms of utilizing technology in the right manner. And I appreciated that was laid out. I thought that was laid out brilliantly. I mean, I believe that we're using technology for the better good right now. Going over this and doing a show and examining it. So yeah, I think those are really good points that are brought up there. And I think people in the audience are correct when they express their concerns that certain people. Well, there's a lot of people out there that'll anything that the Pope says will be taken a completely different way. I've looked at the encyclical and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Now, I do plan to read it again, probably tonight when I'm in bed, see what else I can extrapolate from it. But thus far, I can really appreciate the Christological and the Eucharistic aspects that I've gotten from it. I enjoy that.
And we need to remember that this is released in a very timely way. It's 135 years after Rerum Novarum, which was written by Leo the 13th. It's 135 years ago.
Right.
And this is kind of like progressed in thought, because he doesn't just hit on the AI and the technological advancements. He deals with moral issues, issues that have not really been dealt with in hundreds of years or spoken to in a universal way. Like we'll talk about maybe some with slavery, or some of the things that he says in relation to the church's stance on things that, we may have some controversy around. Like I'm concerned about some of the things he said in here too, because I think there needs more clarity about just war theory, for example, going back to Augustine of Hippo.
Sure. Right.
But he really builds into the forefathers in front of him. I mean, he cites a lot of people. He cites Leo the 13th, of course. He cites Pius the 10th, Pius the 11th, Pius the 12th. I mean, he goes back to Paul the 6th. He really spends a lot of time, even, of course, Francis, more than any of us would probably care to have him quoted, but he also, Benedict the 16th and John Paul II. I mean, he's quoting a lot of the popes before him, going back even into the 19th century, and discussing how the church has examined these issues from different pressures, problems, new societal norms. And he really gets into the social doctrine of the church. And he talks about how Pius XII coined that in the 1950s. Yeah. And so he's really spending a lot of his time saying, like, we've been dealing with developments, but everything we do, and I love how he said this, it's rooted in sacred scripture, the church fathers, and legal developments that happened from the Middle Ages up to our modern time. I love that. So he acknowledges that things change, times change, but our roots are still based in the tradition of the church, sacred scriptures, the developments that we see in this time, are something that we're learning from, and we're learning how to be better today than what we were yesterday.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that. It's great, and I want to give a shout out to Jimmy. Jimmy, how you doing, brother? God bless you. Thank you for the support. He says, "Can you guys go over Wes Huff, who said there was a pope who was dug up and put on trial? Also, I knew Dr. Boyce would be Catholic one day. He always answered my fake Facebook questions years back. Gentlemen, do you remember him? Do you remember the questions Jimmy would ask you?" No.
I get asked so many questions. Wes Huff is probably talking about the cadaver trials. I
Right.
actually have an entire episode on my
Do
channel.
you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't know how long ago that was. I could probably look it up. I've actually done an entire episode on that. If I
Wow.
find it, I will put it in the link for you. How about that?
That
But
sounds good. What does Wes Hub say about that? Maybe you can
this
comment
was
on that.
this was in October of 25. I did that one. I released it
Okay.
so I'll find it. I'll put a link in the description or in the comments for your audience here.
Awesome.
I'm honestly not sure what Wes said. And I'm going to be very careful what I say about Wes too, because
Sure.
Wes and I have had an agreement because we've been friends for years. I knew Wes Huff before most people did. You know,
Wow.
I mean, obviously, I've known Wes Huff for probably 5-6 years, but
My
he
goodness.
and I've
Okay.
done channel discussions together. We've done studies together. Most people don't know this. Right after Wes has only been in one debate since he's been made famous, and that
Yeah.
was against Cam Waters and Aaron Abkey, and he had a teammate in that debate on whether or not Jesus was basically part of the Essene community and a
Mm.
vegetarian. Wes's teammate in that debate was me.
Oh, I
so,
didn't know that.
so
Wow.
yeah, so Wes and that was right after he got famous too. So I have a good relationship with Wes, so I'm very careful,
Sure.
and we kind of have an agreement that we wouldn't publicly criticize each other.
Sure.
However, I'm not criticizing him. I have no idea what he said about it, although
Right.
I do have an opinion about the cadaver trials. It did
Sure.
happen. There was a pope that was dug up and put on trial.
Yeah.
It was condemned later by the church, and it's not allowed to happen ever again. And I have an
Right.
entire episode. So apparently it's in October based on what I'm looking at. So I will pull that up and I'll put it in the
Now, I would
comment.
hope, I have not seen it yet. I do plan to respond at a later time, but I'm going to imagine, I don't think Wes would argue that this refutes papal infallibility. At least I would hope he doesn't. But I have no clue what he says about this. Audience, if y'all can educate me, let me know what he says. But yes, I mean, there's no way around it. This was a lamentable time in history. There's no way around that. But I think the few things that I'll say is, and Stephen would agree with me here. Nobody is arguing that every pope is holy. We know that for a fact. Not all of them were holy, or that every papal action was a wise or good one. This one wasn't wise, um, and even this act that was done was not a good one. But uh, you brought up a really good point there. The church itself rejected the cadaver synod. I believe that it was. I don't remember the name of the synod. There was a synod that was held. It overturned it, and Theodore II, if I believe, was the one that rehabilitated Formosus. I don't know if you remember that off the top of your head.
Yeah. And by the way, I just put
You did put it
the,
there. Okay.
yes, I did. You got to remember what's going on here. This is
Yeah.
in the ninth. It's 890. It was in the 890s. I'd have to go back. It was Pope Stephen VI that ordered the corpse,
Yes.
of Formosus to come and be tried in his chair. I mean, he literally dressed him up, put him in the papal seat, and dressed him in all of his vestments and accused him of crimes against the church, all this thing. So
Yeah.
it was condemned later. I mean, it didn't take much time for that to go by, but it was condemned
Yeah.
later. I will say this too: the condemnations was not doctrinal in its major points, as much
Yeah.
as there was accusatory things. What happened was unethical. And by the way, I mean that's not abnormal. I mean, look at Alexander the Sixth. There's a lot of crazy things that happened to the papacy during
Sure.
the Middle Ages, things that were just unethical or immoral. I mean, there were a lot
Yeah.
of evil popes. I mean, I don't know any Catholic that's trying to cover this up.
No.
The key is that this was a bad decision. This is something that should have never happened. The church condemned it, and it can't happen ever again. So,
Yeah.
but if my link went through, it's in the
You did.
comments.
Yeah.
Feel free to check it out. I did an entire episode on it back in October.
Yeah, there's no way the church can have another cadaver synod. That's for certain. They can't do that. And to be clear, it wasn't about reversing anything doctrinal. It didn't deal with defining Christology, defining the Trinity, or defining Marian dogma. It was largely political. So yeah, and nobody's pretending that every single pope has been a holy figure. Nobody argues that at all. And Brother James, God bless you. Thank you for the support. He says, Laudetur Jesus Christus. Hi, Dr. Boyce. He said, Mike, how is your water? My water's phenomenal. Did you see my recommendation for a Patreon course on Catholic social doctrine? I haven't. I'll check your message out tonight, brother. I have not yet, but thank you for that. And he says, happy feast day of the Mater Ecclesia. Yes, I talked about that earlier today on the radio. The great Saint Bede and Saint Gregory VII for us, and Saint Philip Neri for me. May they intercede for us. Amen, brother. I think he's it's another day, so it's a feast day, different feast day for him. But yeah, I mean, these are really good points there. So back to this particular document. I don't know if you've gone over much of the Eucharistic Christology, but I thought that was good too. I thought that was particularly good too. The sacramental language that is used there, the image of God. You know, to me, one of the strongest messages you find in the document, I've got it open, is every human being is created in the image of God. And then it links that to solidarity. Every human being is created in the image of God and is part of a network of relations. I like how he used that language there. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I like what he said about the Eucharist as well. He talks about how the sacraments of baptism, confirmation unite us to Christ. But then he also goes in the Eucharist, which is the sacrament of unity, nurtures our belonging to the body of Christ. It teaches us how to share. The diverse sensibilities present in the church and the strong convictions that animate each person are a source of richness if they remain anchored in the certainty that unity is a gift received and responsibility to be fulfilled. And what that means is that the Eucharist does something proactive. Like when we take the Eucharist, it's not just something that we just keep to ourselves. It actually nurtures us. And it teaches us that we belong to something bigger than us. But he says it teaches us how to share.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is my body given for you, right?
Yeah.
This is the blood of the new covenant. All of this is poured out for you. Like this, everything that Jesus was instituting in the Eucharist is a gift. And it teaches to give. He gave himself for us. So if we're receiving the gift, we need to be also passing that love and that gift off. And that was his point, is that we're anchored in that. And I thought it was beautiful because, you know, our communion in faith and the sacraments does begin with baptism and confirmation. And you can't have all of that validly done, these things he's talking about, apart from the true church. And so it's kind of interesting. He's speaking of a unity and the power of these things, but there's only one way to have that, and that is in the fullness of the faith. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that maybe have a valid baptism, or they're experiencing some level of a valid Eucharist, but man, they're missing out on the fullness too. So you got to wonder about some of these things too, because he didn't get into that as much, but he did have powerful statements about our sacraments in the church and really where we experience the fullness.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. It's a great point there. I appreciated that a lot. And the language used here. Now, here's a good question. And I saw it right now. James, thank you for the super chat. This is a good question. This is interesting. He says, we English speakers have been blessed with the best version of an encyclical. I won't be surprised if the encyclical was originally written in English. You won't have translation errors if so. I wouldn't be shocked either. What do you think? That's possible.
This is the hard part about some of the encyclicals in the past.
Yeah.
Is there's a lot of controversy about translations.
Sure.
The nice thing about Pope Leo XIV is that English is a regular well spoken. So even if it wasn't in English,
Yep.
whatever translations the Vatican had moved and did the translating in, he could correct very
Sure.
well. Like, well, what I meant by that was this. So I want this English word. I don't know if he actually wrote it in English or not. I have not heard that in the sense of like he started it in English.
Sure.
Typically, that's not the format and how these
Possible.
things are done.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
But even if it was coming from another language, whether it did in Italian,
Yeah.
and then he moved it over to English, his ability to speak fluently in English, he would be able to make whatever corrections he wants to make sure he picked the word in English that he actually wanted.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about that. And that kind of precision is. I think James used to have a good point there. That kind of precision is something that we are definitely spoiled with right now as being native English speakers. That's going to be fun for many years. Let's enjoy it while we can, right?
Yeah, and it'll be Lord willing. I mean, it seems like he's in good health. He's younger
Yes.
for a pope.
Oh, yeah.
He'll probably be around for a while. But again, whether or not the encyclical was originally written in English, I don't think anybody knows. They haven't made that
Yeah.
statement. I would assume it was in Italian first and probably moved to English. But
But he
either
still could have
way,
overseen. Yeah. Mhm.
sure. I mean, he can make it. He could choose whatever English word he wants.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. In order to make sure that the correct message that he wants to be conveyed will be conveyed. I completely agree. So either which way, we've got an encyclical that we can definitely hang our hat on. A very good translation of it. I think that's worthy of being able to see that. Speaking of encyclicals, TJ, thank you for the support. Is asking, what is an encyclical? Is it binding? So, and I'll let you touch upon the binding part if you want. The encyclical, an encyclical, TJ, is to lay it out very, very in a simple way. It is a teaching, a formal teaching, a letter issued by the Pope, issued to the bishops, to the faithful of the church, and then many times to all people as well. And it's usually, very often, teaching on faith, morals, theology, doctrines of the church. So I mean, is it important? It is important. What are your thoughts on whether or not is it binding, Stephen? What would you say to that?
They are binding, and this is something that gets brought up a lot, right? And this is
Yep.
something that I struggled with as a Protestant
Sure.
is categories of the Pope. When you're looking at the different tiers of like, is this ex
Yeah.
cathedra? Which in this situation, there's no evidence that he said anything or is even insinuating that he said anything ex cathedra.
Sure.
So that would be, let's just say tier one. Tier two is that it is binding. It's binding for the faithful. And in this situation, he makes a lot of statements that are definitely binding. And some could argue that they're it's not like, oh, is the whole encyclical ex cathedra or is the whole, like, sometimes there could be an encyclical and there's one statement in it that is
Yeah.
ex cathedra and the rest of it's not.
No doubt.
So it's kind of a complex situation. I know that you and Lofton and Ybarra have done a lot on this in years past, but in the situation about binding, they certainly are binding on the conscience of Catholics.
Absolutely.
But we have to understand that there are elements where something can be binding, but not infallible. Now there are elements too, kind of like in a third tier, like there are things that Pope says that we're allowed to disagree and say, I don't agree with that. I mean, that's his opinion and it's not mine. Typically those things are not dealing with issues of morals and faith. In this situation, he is speaking in morals and faith. He is
He
speaking
sure is.
on the doctrine of the church, especially as the social doctrine of the church. He's
Mhm.
speaking particularly on AI. That is the struggle of that with morals. I mean, he's condemning even young people having, certain software and iPhones at a young age and how it is hurting the moral compass of the young generation being introduced to pornography and all kinds of other disastrous things.
Yep.
He is speaking to the subject of morals. And so from that perspective, it is binding on the faithful when we read this encyclical.
It's a great point. It's not something that you can optionally dismiss. That's a great point you bring up there. And you make a very good and an important distinction. Not every encyclical is infallible. It's a very good point you bring up there. And yeah, you're right. We've touched upon it many times before. Back in the old school days, man. Michael Lofton, myself, and Eric Ibarra. By the way, shout out to Eric. I think Eric did a show where he's talking about penal substitutionary atonement. But he was talking with Gavin. I haven't seen it yet.
Gavin Orland, yeah, I saw.
Was that good? Did you get to watch it? Was it good?
I didn't, but I did see that he posted it, and so I'm definitely going to check that out. And by the way, let me just say this: the subject at hand is prudential judgments, where say the Pope comes out today and he says, I think politically that it's better to lean towards whatever political opinion of something. We're not talking about a moral. We're not talking about abortion. We're not talking about something like that. We're talking about just a political leaning, a personal preference that somebody would say, oh, that's liberal or that's super conservative. That is something of prudential judgment. And by that, when encyclicals are addressing politics or economic situations, like I think you should put your aluminum cans in an aluminum bin, or I think you should put your glass bottles in a glass bin. I mean, that's probably, so what we don't do is, say, well, that's just stupid and that's dumb. Like, that's not the Catholic response either. It's like, well, the Pope has spoken about something that's important to him. We should listen. He's our Papa. We should listen. But at the end of the day, it may not be something that we find that important, or it might be a personal preference of his. And in that situation, it's prudential judgments. So are there sections in this encyclical that could be argued from prudential judgment? Yes. Are there sections in this encyclical where there's definitely binding of the conscience to faith and morals? Probably the majority. Is there anything in here that we would say is infallible or ex cathedra? No, I don't even know anybody that's even, and if there was, people would be going nuts. If they saw the word I declare or something like that, people would have been
going wild on that. It'd be all over the news, man. I guarantee you that would be all over the news.
And by the way, a pope can do that beyond he can do that in a homily. We don't see that. This isn't a normal thing, but to ask if it's binding, most encyclicals are binding.
Yep. Yeah. And this is a good encyclical, so I don't see why I hope people aren't, getting upset, but shout out to Petshin. How you doing, brother? Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Thank you. God bless you for your support. BB Lou says, it is interesting how the media has spun this to be the church. Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on that? Have you heard that? I do have thoughts on that. He says it's interesting. And by the way, BB Lou, good to see you again. Thank you for the super chat. It is interesting how the media has spun this to be the church apologizing for slavery, that it is always condemned. Hasn't the church condemned it before and, apologized before? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised at the take that a lot of people have made on that, like apologizing. First of all, I don't remember ever reading an official apology as much as him making a clarification. ABC News actually posted this, and I actually pulled it up, and I can't share my screen here, but that's fine.
Yeah. You can share it. You can share it. I'll
No, it's fine. It's on Facebook, and I don't want to waste too much time just pulling things up, but I think it was this afternoon. It was Swan Sona. I'm almost positive it was Swan had posted a statement where ABC, it was Swan, because I commented.
Were they highlighted it? I haven't seen that.
Well, yeah, they made this the big part of their situation. It says Pope Leo XIV makes historic apology for the Holy See's own role in making basically slavery legitimate. And I put in the comments, and I've actually gotten a lot of comments and likes on this post. I said, to be clear, the church issued condemnations of unjust enslavement and slave abuses long before the modern
Long ago.
era.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
But Pope Leo XIV acknowledged that these condemnations were often inconsistent, meaning there wasn't some sort of uniformity to it. Sometimes one pope was really, really, this is wrong. And then somebody would just turn the other eye away from it and act like it didn't happen. But then he said, basically, I said, we're often inconsistent and did not yet amount to a clear, universal rejection of slavery in all forms.
Right.
ABC News oversimplified this and misled the reader a little bit. And the reason I wanted to focus on that is because he was speaking about different types of slavery, not just what happened in the South or what happened during the Civil War period. He was speaking to slavery today, and he talked about sex trafficking of children. He went after all forms of slavery. He even talked about being enslaved to passions and things like that. So he did come after slavery. There's no doubt about it. But he even says right here in paragraph 180, he said the various areas just considered: the search for the truth in public life, education, digital environment, the transformation of work, the fragility of families, and new forms of slavery are not isolated phenomena. Rather, they reflect a common underlying issue, namely that if technology becomes the ultimate criterion, the human person risks being reduced to data, a cog in a machine, or a commodity. If, however, technology is integrated as a wide perspective, it may become an instrument of growth, justice, and fraternity. And what he's saying here is that slavery is not limited to everybody's ran into, and he says it also previous in 179. New forms of slavery are fueled by economic chains and digital infrastructures. So he got into, he did condemn slavery as we saw it in the United States during the period of the Civil War and before.
Right.
But he only made a quick statement about that.
And then he moved on.
More time about new forms of slavery in our world was actually the major part of his arguments about slavery. And I challenge anybody, just word search slavery in the document from paragraphs 175 to 180. And again, he says in 175, human trafficking must be recognized as a contemporary form of slavery and grave violation of human dignity. And he talks about other slaveries in antiquity. And then he talks about slavery that was long, tolerated. But he also mentions other people that condemn slavery, other popes that condemned slavery hundreds of years ago. He's basically saying, I'm not the first one to do this.
It's been done before.
But he wanted to make it absolutely abundantly clear universally, like anybody looking at these past events of slavery, that when we see it all in different forms, different ways, it is wrong. It has always been wrong, and it will continue to be wrong. However, we need to be careful because there's new forms of slavery too. So there's never an apology anywhere, to my knowledge, where he came out and made an apology on behalf of the entire church. He just stated that the church has been condemning this for a long time, but he believed it needs to be shored up. That's basically the way he wrote it.
Now, there's no doubt about that. He notes slavery is evil, acknowledges that the church condemns it, and you're right, that was rather brief compared to what he then goes into, warning that modern technological systems, and he's right, they can create, and they do create, new forms of human bondage. They most definitely do. That's an issue, and that likewise must be resisted. But you're right. In fact, if I'm correct, cannot find it in the document. Didn't he brought up past popes? Didn't he bring up Pope Leo the 13th?
He did.
He did, right? I knew it.
He said it was only in the 19th century that a formal, absolute, and universal condemnation of slavery was clearly articulated under Leo the 13th. This development offers a clear example of the church's growth in understanding the perennial truths of revelation that she safeguards. Although there were not always consistencies in practice, given that slavery was long tolerated before being unequivocally condemned, there have been continuous affirmations throughout history of the dignity of every human being, creating the image of God, even if you took 18 centuries for its full. So he is actually not taking credit for saying,
Right.
I'm the first. He's actually saying his predecessor, Leo the 13th,
Did
is
it.
the one that did so. And by the way, if you look at that, it was in his encyclical in 1888, May 5th, in
Oh yeah, in
Plurimis.
Plurimis. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Plurimis. Yeah.
So distinguished between an immoral and moral aspect of slavery without fully condemning everything in it. But he had already acknowledged something about it that needed to be acknowledged in the 19th century, late 19th century, that he is now reiterating and saying, now we know even more the type of excuse making there was for slavery. But now we also recognize there's new slaveries that we don't even think about.
Yeah.
He wasn't speaking of the past slavery as if it needed to be condemned again. He acknowledged it was condemned, but he's saying it needs to be continually condemned with the understanding that slavery is still happening. It's got a new form now. That was his point. So for ABC and all these other news outlets to be doing this is actually, that's what I'm talking about. Like totally misrepresents what Pope Leo is trying to do here. He actually had a bigger point, and they're going to make this a political point.
Sure.
And they missed the fact that it's like, how many of these news outlets are covering the sex trafficking? How many of these news outlets are talking about these abductions of children who are put into sex slavery? You know, that was his point. And for them to not report that is actually despicable because it's in the same paragraph.
It's pretty pathetic. No, you're definitely right about that. And in fact, I found it now. Was brought up. He brings up Pope Paul III, Pope Gregory the 16th, Pope Pius VII. Yeah, so the media really, I guess I shouldn't be shocked at the media's pitiful covering of this. Pitiful. Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I shouldn't be shocked at that at all. And AB, now I know he's your buddy, so you won't say anything. But I agree with AB. AB, thank you for the super chat and the support. He says Wes needs to stick to manuscript work. He keeps stepping out of his lane, making erroneous claims. Now, hey, maybe the day will come when you and him will have a friendly debate. Do you think that'll ever happen or no?
He's not a debater.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And his thing, well, that's one of the biggest reasons he called me up to join.
You are a debater. Yeah, you are a debater. Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, I've never made anybody walk off the stage in the middle of the debate before. Oh wait,
yeah, right. Yeah, right, man. Where are you at, Ari? Ari will testify to that, man. Oh yeah, no doubt.
No, Wes isn't much of a debater, and he's a good guy. He really is. I have no qualms with him. We obviously know where we differ from each other. It's not a secret. He makes comments against Catholicism. I'll make comments against Protestantism. I have absolutely no problems critiquing the positions that he has, but I'm honestly not interested. I mean, if you wanted to have a sit down discussion, friend to friend, just have a conversation, I'd gladly have it with him.
You would do that. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair. He's a friend of yours. There's no doubt. Yeah. Maybe pop open a beer and what have you. That'd be fun.
All right. Well, I mean, he's Baptist. I don't know how much he drinks, but I mean, I'd drink his beer and mine, and we would have the discussion.
There you go, man. Do you have a go-to beer you like?
You know, I've actually gotten into the hard ciders more lately, but I mean, I don't mind some of the, you know, I was actually the other day, where was I? I was at a party somewhere. It was a celebration party. I think it was the Dos Equis. And honestly, I never thought I liked the Mexican beers and stuff like that.
Oh, you enjoyed it?
Yeah. Oh, it was actually pretty good. I remember when I was done, I was like, you know, that wasn't so bad. But it beats the heck out of the other stuff, you know, Coors and so forth.
Regular Dos Equis you had?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
You got to try the amber. The amber one's good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
hey, I'm open to trying anything. But you know, I've really gotten into there's actually a local brewery about 45 minutes north of me in Hendersonville that does you know, hard ciders. It's called Bold Rock. Really good stuff. They had multiple different types of flavors. I've really gotten into the hard ciders in the last couple of years, especially with this local brewery. I like supporting locals. So it's really good.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that's the best. Supporting local breweries when possible. That's awesome. That's great, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me see. Oh, this is a controversial one, man. And I know Daniel's position on it. Daniel, by the way, Daniel, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support. He says your thoughts, Dr. Boys, on the Crusades. Just war. Yeah.
Oh man. So
Yeah. And then let me put the link. Daniel, if you want to ask him, you want to come back here and ask him, I'm putting the link here. But yeah, I know exactly how Daniel feels about
which
them.
crusade really is the question too,
I
because
don't know. That's a good one. Daniel, do you mean crusades in general? And I put the link in case you want to join. And Ari, if you're around, Ari, we're calling you out. Ari, come join as well if you have any questions. And yeah, Daniel.
well,
Yeah.
let's clarify something here too. And I think some of this is going back to something that was said in the encyclical about just wars. And I really
Right.
wasn't a fan. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't a fan on this
I
one.
know.
He said, today more than ever, without prejudice to the right to self-defense in the strictest sense, it is important to reaffirm that the just war theory, which has all too often been used to justify any kind of war, is now outdated. Now, up to the last line, I completely agree. I think that a lot of wars are considered just wars that are actually not just wars.
Gotcha. They're
I would
unjust.
well, there's a lot of wars today that are being called just wars, but they're not.
Right.
And I
Gotcha.
would agree on that. That's an excuse. Like if you ask anybody that wages war, they're always going to tell you it was just
just. Oh yeah.
So,
It's always just.
I agree with him on that. But he also says without prejudice to the right of self-defense in the strictest sense. So he's also acknowledging that there are times for self-defense.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to read the line that it is now outdated. And he gives his reasons because we possess the tools today to promote resolutions and human life and dialogue and diplomacy. I don't know if that is any different than 100 years ago, though, outside of the quickness of sending messages.
And James says he means all of them. He doesn't like any, remember?
Oh, really?
Is that right, James?
James doesn't like any?
I'm not sure, James. I think he's saying Pope Leo. James, are you saying that Pope Leo says all of them? Is that what you're saying?
I have never heard, and I'm not saying it didn't happen. I've never heard him condemn all of the Crusades. And maybe I'm wrong.
I've never heard that. I have never heard that either.
Let's just put it, for example, when we look at the Crusades, especially the First Crusade and the Third Crusade, I'm going to think about those right now.
Okay.
Muslim armies obviously invaded and took major Christian territories, especially North Africa and, of course, the Holy Land. This became problematic, too, and especially how they were treating people, because you had pilgrims that were coming to Jerusalem, and there was claims of murder and rape and a lot of things that were going on. So when the Crusades were called, it was to protect pilgrimage sites and pilgrims who were coming to visit the sites because of the invasions that took place. Obviously, that was Pope Urban II. I'm pretty sure it was Urban II that called the First Crusade. And so to me, it was truly, by definition, as Pope Leo even said in his encyclical, it was a right to self-defense of the innocent. Now, there are people that will argue that it was exaggerated and that people made the situation worse and far more dire than it really was. I don't buy that. I do think it was severe. We also see times where, Islam would have invaded all of Europe. They were already trying to invade the Vatican. Think about the night of Our Lady of the Rosary, right?
Oh, yeah.
With Pius V. The miracle of the wind coming and blowing the ships of the invaders towards the Catholic ships ended up conquering them in the night. If God did not intervene, if these armies did not intervene in many of these things, these cities and many of these Christians would have been burnt and destroyed, and many of the things we enjoy in Catholicism,
Would be gone.
some of the, I mean, gone. Artifacts, relics. I mean,
Now, I'm sorry for interrupting. Just very
go ahead.
briefly, because I don't understand. I'm curious for Daniel's thoughts. Now, I know Daniel was very happy. We love Daniel. Daniel's a tremendous Catholic. He's in the diaconate. We love him dearly. But I don't know Daniel's position. Daniel, the link is posted. You're free to come back here. Do you reject all the Crusades, Daniel? Like every single one of them? Do you not think the church should have defended itself? I don't know his position on this, but James clarified. James actually meant not the Pope. He said Daniel rejects all of them. I'm just curious because I think we would have been, I'm curious how. Now, I have no issue saying some of them, and I think we were having this conversation over there in Dallas at the conference with a few Catholic brethren. I have no issue condemning some of them. I've got no problem doing that. But
I don't like what happened. I don't like what happened to particularly the Waldensians. I don't like the way that was handled, where they started.
In what way? I've got to press you in that. I'm curious. In what way?
Well, I mean, they started. They invaded villages. They started killing people. I don't think that was. I know they were heretics, but I don't know if that was necessary. They weren't a threat like Islam, who was invading cities and destroying artifacts and killing
I don't think they were a
pilgrims.
threat. You're right. I don't think they were a threat. Yeah.
Like theologically, they were, but not in a war.
They were really? Do you think that they're because this is something educating me at the moment? Do you think that their influence was such a threat theologically? I wasn't aware of their influence being that widespread, even theologically, but that's something new to me there. Then.
Well, I mean, the problem is when you look at any theology at this point in history, especially in the whatever is 1100s, you're dealing with a group. No heretical group started in a big mass. It always started in a small community and it spread. And these were weird times. The 10th century, the 11th century, the 12th century, these are weird times when it came to the rise against the church. And some of it was partially justified and some of it was not. There were some bad popes that came into power during this time. The papacy, and I don't know of any Catholic that would disagree with this, became extremely politicized. And in this situation, people were opposing quite a bit of the issues that were coming into play. I mean, if you look at a lot of the popes during that period, most of them have never been granted sainthood, including
there's no doubt,
including Urban II.
Oh, you're right. I don't think they're going to get sainthood either. I really don't think they'll get it.
So, I mean, when you look at the Waldensians, they were just another group. You can say that they weren't doing anything theologically dangerous that was taking over the entire Roman Empire or the area of Rome and beyond to Europe. Yeah. But they opposed the church. They were not quiet about their opposition. Sure. So anything that was a threat, Rome was really on edge with anything that was threatening. So if it looked like a threat, it was silenced. And the problem with that is they went to extreme lengths to do a lot of those things. And unfortunately, in situations, I think the church made decisions that were not right. So when somebody says, "Oh, I think the Crusades were just wars," well, that's pretty difficult to prove across the board in every battle, because we also know this, and you know this. Some of these groups in the Crusades went rogue. I mean, the Pope was telling them, no, like stop. And they didn't listen. They went and did it anyway, even under excommunication. So to just universally say everything about the Crusades is bad is absurd. To say everything about the Crusades is good is even more absurd. We have to break it down. Which crusade? A balance. I got you. Okay. Which battle?
That's why I really wanted Daniel's thoughts, because Daniel says he rejects all of them. I really wanted his thoughts on that. Perhaps another time. But yeah, I think that we do need that balance there. There's no doubt about that. We would have been taken over. Would have been overrun by Islam. I mean.
Oh my goodness! Oh, it would have been bad.
It would have been pretty devastating. I mean, there's
no by the way, the comment in the correct is correct. Urban II was beatified. Give it to me a second here. What year was that? Can somebody actually find that?
The brother James would probably know that. James says Leo the 13th beatified Urban the Second. Oh,
Beatified in 1881, but he
okay.
was not. Say that again.
Yeah, he says his feast day is 29th of July. The Pope was a temporal leader, if I recall correctly.
Was he granted? He was granted sainthood.
I was not aware of
Interesting.
that. As well as at the time of the Crusades with the Papal States. I didn't know that. Okay. Pope Urban II. Okay.
Yeah, but he wasn't granted sainthood to my knowledge. Because that's what I had said earlier. Now, because I don't think he was canonized.
I didn't think he was.
I mean, James can correct me here. I mean, I'm not arguing about his. Okay. Yeah, July 29th is what he's saying. I'm not arguing that. I made a comment earlier about him being canonized as a saint. I don't think he was ever canonized.
Yeah, no canonization, beatification. Okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. So
I got
right.
confused. I got
No,
confused.
we're
I
right.
thought that I thought he was saying he was eventually that he was beatified and then eventually canonized. Okay. Okay.
No. So he's beatified but not canonized, which is interesting. Usually, you know, if you can get to one, you can get to the other. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not saying it was a bad pope at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that was a very sticky time. And a lot of the popes that are there were never canonized or granted sainthood, which is very interesting.
Super interesting. Have you ever done a show in the Crusades? Jimmy says should do a show in the history of the Crusades. You ever done that?
It is on the list of many, many things to do. We are going to do a series on one. I'm hoping in 2027. We've been trying to plan out a lot of our series in advance, and I do have it on my 2027 plan.
Very nice. Very, very nice. That's good. That's good. The very shout out to Rosarium. Rosarium says, thank you for the super chat. The very news outlets that don't report about child trafficking don't do so because they're owned by these people. Yeah.
It's probably true in a lot of senses, to be honest with you. I'm so shocked that people even watch the news anymore.
I don't.
Like, I don't care what it is. And it was like, oh, ABC, NBC, CS. I mean, it's like, I don't watch any Fox News, none of them. If they're owned by a program, I'm probably not watching them. If it's some independent person, I'm more likely to listen to somebody, and I don't even listen many of these, but like I would rather sit there and listen to somebody who's independent, who has actually no attachments and is not owned by a network, than listen to networks and their stupid propaganda for or against whatever I think is right.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And it cuts both ways. It cuts both ways. There's no doubt about that. I avoid them as well. There's no doubt. James Tay says, I heard, this is true. Now, this is true. I forgot about that. That's a good point he made. Pope Benedict XVI wrote at least some parts of his in German. So it is very much possible Pope Leo the 14th wrote in English at least some parts. That's a good point.
No, I mean, we didn't say that he did or did not. We're just saying that
right.
they have not confirmed what it was originally written in. And even if it wasn't in English, he could easily make whatever English words he wants in that situation.
Sure. Which is a good thing. That's something very, very good. And James says encyclicals are part of the ordinary papal magisterium, usually. I don't know whether they are part of the OUM. What does that stand for? OUM. I don't know whether they are ex cathedra and thus extraordinary magisterium. OUM. Ordinary universal magisterium. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think we touched upon that earlier.
We did.
Yeah, we did. And I don't know if this is true, but I would trust it much more than I would trust ABC. James, by the way, James, thank you for the support, brother. I don't know. I would trust this over ABC, over NBC, over any of those stations. I would trust the Vatican News. I would. I trust it more. I would. He says the most reliable news source regarding the Universal Church and the Supreme Pontiff, His Holiness Leo the 14th, remains to be the Vatican News. Do you go to the Vatican News often?
Periodically, I do. I do follow it on social media. So anytime, and what's nice is they're further ahead in Italy. So by the time we're waking up, first thing in the morning, I usually do click one of the notifications. Something happens. I do check it out first thing in the morning on a regular basis.
You do, yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I'm glad that you made that comment on. I didn't see the comment you made on Swan's post, but that's a good one. I'm glad you made that in terms of the slavery. I thought that got really, the way the media misrepresented that. I didn't like that at all. What do you think of the social doctrine in the? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? He
Well,
says,
I mean,
mhm. Yeah, go
go
for it.
ahead.
You want me to
No,
read
no,
it?
go.
He says,
Yeah,
we must once again reflect on the common good, the universal destination of goods, subsidiarity, solidarity, and social justice. And then he says he warns against concentrated technological power. The main drivers of development are private, often transnational parties. When such power is concentrated in the hands of a few, new dependencies, exclusions, manipulations, and inequalities arise. That's pretty strong language.
yeah, people cringe when they hear social doctrine.
I know. I know they do.
There's a part where people will struggle with this, but again, we
Yeah.
have to remember that this isn't something. I know that Pope Francis spent a lot of time on this, but he's
Mhm.
not even the one that coined it.
Right.
This goes back to Pius XII. This is pre-Vatican II terminology. And I know there's a lot of people that are, oh no, this sounds like something that's some post-Vatican II concept.
Right.
It's actually not. I mean, it's something that goes back to Pius XII.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. There is a lot. I mean, if you just look at the word social doctrine in the like search engine or something, it shows up a lot in this, like more than it should.
Yeah.
In my opinion on things. But Benedict XVI had no problem talking about it too. I mean, he
Hmm.
talked about promoting the common good of humanity. He talked about negotiable values, non-negotiable values. So this isn't something that's just unique to Leo the 14th or even Pope Francis himself. There's a lot that can be said about the social doctrine in this document.
Yeah.
However, he spends a lot of his time focusing on how that connects back to AI, back to the Imago Dei, back to
Yeah.
how we're humanizing our world, and that everything that we do today in the church is affecting this, and it is
Right.
affecting us. And his whole point is basically we can't turn a blind eye to it anymore. We can't just make an excuse for it anymore. We're going to have to face it head on. Um, and he even says, I was trying to find it a second ago. I found it. He said, I'd like to touch on a point that is particularly close to my heart. Social doctrine is not merely a message addressed to society.
Hmm.
It's an examination of conscience for the church, a
Right.
home and a school of communion that is always called to ensure that the principles outlined in this chapter are applied, especially within a structure. And then he talks about in an ecclesial context, common good takes form in and another cuss word, a synod approach, or
Yeah.
synodality. I mean, these
Yeah.
kind of things.
Trigger word. Another trigger
I'm
word.
telling you, man, people get all worked up about some of the stuff. But
I
he
know that.
does focus particularly on these different principles of living out justice in the church. And and I understand that we cringe at that because of media and
Hmm.
because of the abuse of that. But he gives examples and this is one of the things I appreciated about this section. He actually gave examples. He says purifying ecclesial relationships and structures from distortion that give rise to inequality,
Yeah.
lack of transparency, abuse of power. I don't think anybody at this point will be like, "Oh, that's terrible. How dare he?"
Right.
Um, Listening to the victims of spiritual, economical, institutional, sexual, and power based abuses, as well as abuses of the conscience, is an integral part of a journey toward justice, which includes acknowledging the harm that was done and just reparations and taking steps to prevent it from happening again.
Yep.
I mean, he's got to say this too, especially with what happened in the early 2000s in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
There were people that were covering up sexual abuse situations.
Damnable.
We had priests that were abusing acolytes and all kinds of stuff going on. And he needed to say, that the church has to purify itself of giving ourselves over to distorted excuses about abuse of power. So he's putting accountability on the church when he does this.
Sure.
Listening to victims, not silencing them. Whether it's institutional, sexual in nature, power, conscience. And basically, we need to not only acknowledge what was wrong, but do reparations and steps from preventing it from ever happening again. Who would argue with that? Everybody's asking for that in every group right now.
I don't think anybody with half a brain would argue against that. Those are great points. Now, you brought up earlier, and I had forgotten about it, and I love this, how Leo he explicitly invokes Augustine. You caught that, right? You saw that, where he says, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord.
Love it.
And our heart is restless until it rests in you." One of my favorite lines from the great Augustine. So I look at that, and that's great, amazing, really, really the deep theology you're getting there, and it's a great point. There's no way AI is ever going to really satisfy restlessness, and he brings up Augustine. I love that, man. Money can't, only God, and that's a great line. You had brought up Augustine. I remember reading that, and I'm just totally blown away how deeply theological this truly is. I mean, I recommend everybody read it. And you're hearing us talk about it tonight, breaking down for you our favorite parts, and I got to go back and read it again. And I highly recommend you all that are hearing us break it down, read it. You can find it online for free, but that was a tremendous line. Don't you agree?
Yeah, this shows he's an Augustinian, and he's always been. I wish he'd get on, Augustine's just war theory better, but be an Augustinian all the way through and through, right? But yeah, he was commenting on that from John 10, talking about the love of Christ calls us to life in all of its fullness, the abundant life. And so he ties that into Augustine there, and he talks about the church, dialoguing with people in this time, safeguarding deep truth, deep love, deep fulfillment, because as Catholics, we love that word, fullness, because we believe we have the fullness of the faith, the fullness of the sacraments, the fullness of life, and the fullness of Christ's church. Yeah. And so until we recognize our Creator who made us as our Lord, we're going to be restless in this world where we don't ever experience. We're always going to be wanting something else. We're always going to be wanting the next thing, or we're never satisfied with what we have until our hearts find rest in the Creator who created us. And the fullness of Christ's goodness, all that he poured out for us, all that he did for us, can be found in his holy church. And this is something that bothers me, and I've come to be bothered by this more and more as a Catholic. I've only been a Catholic since November on All Saints Day, and I've watched the arguments, the debates, and the dialogue about the better theology and the better ecclesiology, and I'm all for it. Of course, I studied all those things before converting because I needed to be convinced of it myself. But man, sometimes we just need to rest in the sacraments. I'll tell you, yesterday I was back. We typically go to our parish here in Greenville, Taylor's area, Prince of Peace Catholic Church, and but I'm a member of the ordinariate, the personal ordinariate, and Anglican ordinariate. The problem is the closest one's an hour away, and I go up there once a month. We go up there once a month, and I was there this week. And the reason I was there is because I teach once a week up there, and I do catechesis for them. But also my wife and I were sponsoring an Anglican priest and his wife who were converting. And I'm telling you, man, we were up there, and my wife texted me. I'd been talking. I just got done teaching a class. We're going into Mass. They do a confession before the second Mass. They have an 8:30 Mass and 11. We went to the 11 because I was teaching in between. And my wife texted me, and she was talking about how much she loved the sacrament of confession, and that Father
Yeah.
Josh Johnson was so wonderful, and she felt alive again. And she said she was
Wow.
shaking, and it must have impacted her so bad because we went
Sure.
to bed super late last night. I told you about my daughter
You
having to go
did.
to the ER and
Yes,
all that. And
you
so
did.
we're home. It's like past midnight, and she was wide awake, and she was talking about how much she loved the sacrament of confession and that it
Yeah.
frees her. And
Wow.
but at while she was appreciating sacrament of confession, I was appreciating confirmation.
Wow.
And I sat there and put my right hand on this priest who was a priest in the Anglican church for years. And he was trembling. I could feel him trembling. And man, I just started crying. I was in like
Wow.
crying because of how powerful it is when he was anointed in the holy oils. He texted me later and he said, and this is exactly what he said to me in his message. He said, for the first time in my entire life, I can say I've never felt as close to Jesus than I did taking the Eucharist today. This is
Wow.
somebody who has issued the Eucharist for years. And it goes back to that. We've gotten caught up sometimes, William. Sorry for preaching here, but like
No, please
we get
continue. Please continue.
we get caught up sometimes in the debates and the fights and the arguments,
Yep.
and we completely forget to just abide in the fullness. We have the fullness. Yeah, go defend it, but then shut up and go live in it for a while, man.
You've got
We
to.
need
You have
it's
to.
beautiful.
You
Sacraments are
got to.
beautiful.
You got to get to confession. You got to get to Holy Mass. You got to bask in the beauty of the sacraments. You are 1,000% correct. And that is part of the reason why I don't get embroiled in any online drama or any of that garbage. I'll defend the faith. There's no doubt about that. But you got to have a life pointing towards the sacraments. You've got to. And if you are doing apologetics in particular, you're not getting to the sacrament of confession. You're not getting to the Holy Eucharist. Well, your spiritual life is going to be a mess. And you know that very clearly. Your spiritual life is going to be a total mess. You got to get to the sacraments. There's a reason why Jesus instituted all of them, as the church teaches explicitly. You got to get there and spend time. One thing that I do, and I've said it before in the air, before every debate I ever have, and I've been doing this for many years, for a long time. Before debates, I spend time in adoration before the Holy Eucharist. Plenty of time in adoration. I think one thing that we fail to do in our busy schedules and our busy lives, brother, I think we forget to stop and at times, really, to be honest, to really, worship God. We sometimes we really do stop. We forget to do that. We don't always have our eyes on the prize, and we really have to rejoice in the sacraments. I think that's where a lot of people tend to fail. What are your thoughts on that?
No, man, I didn't come to the Catholic faith because I like their arguments the best.
Right?
Came to the Catholic faith because they had the fullness of the Christian life. And
Yep.
I mean, in the Anglican world, I mean, Anglicans are quite intelligent. They're very, very good at history. They have a tremendous. I mean, most Anglican churches you go to are extremely smart people. Some of the smartest people I've ever been around are in the Anglican
Sure.
churches. I didn't come to Catholicism for an intellectual exercise, although I appreciate the intellectual side of Catholicism.
Sure.
I came to Catholicism because it had what Anglicanism lacked,
Yeah.
and that's the fullness.
The fullness.
That's
Yep.
and so I'm here because of the fullness of the faith. And so
Yep.
I don't lose sleep over Pope Leo saying something ridiculous here or there. Or,
I don't
like
either.
it's just, man,
No.
I just go to mass. I go to mass and enjoy what I gave up a lot. I gave up a lot to be where we are today. And it
You
was
sure
with
did.
much prayer and dedication. And we desired for an entire 13 months, my wife and I, for 13 months, we went to an altar rail every single week and
Wow.
received a spiritual blessing, craving and desiring and aching to take the Blessed Sacrament. And
Wow.
so I'm like a kid in the candy store every single Sunday. And
Yep.
Claire said this to me. Claire said this to me not long ago. She said, She said, I think we needed those 13 months to be desperate so that we never underestimate the power of the sacrament and that we never take for granted that we are participating in it. Because it reminds us, like, there was a time we couldn't do this. We just had to cross our arms and take a blessing.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I know what you mean, man. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I've been there.
Some people are sitting there like, oh, it's an obligation. It's like, all right, it's obligation. Like we're over here, like, we're on the opposite side of this. We're a little bit, and then some people are gonna say, well, hey, your first year, whatever. Man, I hope I never lose the wonder of it all. I hope I never lose the wonder of it all.
I have been Catholic now. I want to say, man, almost 20 years now. And the fire and the joy to get to Mass, I'd say as I approach my 20th year, it only grows. My excitement has only grown. And I've been here for almost 2 decades now, and my excitement only grows. My joy, my love, it only grows. So I can tell you right now, I don't think it's going to lessen. I don't think so. I don't think that fire is ever going to go out, man. It hasn't gone out for me. I'm on fire every single every time I can get to Holy Mass. It is a wonderful, wonderful time. I look forward to it all the time. I don't think it's ever going to die out for you. I think it's only going to get even better. I'll tell you that from experience.
Love it.
I love it. I love it. I love it as well. Rosarium, you're right, man. He says William shows her ordinary universal magisterium. There you go, man. There you go, Rosarium. God bless you, man. And speaking of Rosarium, he considers himself to be the humblest of the humblest. He's right here. What's up, Rosarium? How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, brother? Are you going to tell Dr. Boyce that you are the humblest of all, the humblest?
Wow.
I sure am.
Wow.
And he points to Numbers 12:3 to say that he is the humblest of all of them.
Yeah, William tried to debunk me on that, but yeah, he just admitted I used Numbers 12:3 to just completely shoot his argument into space. And I mean, he even admitted that I got him.
I did not. But Numbers 12:3, you can see what Numbers 12:3 says, Stephen. You can see it says, now the man Moses was very humble. Yeah.
It's like writing about himself. Yeah.
Right.
Which kind of actually points that Moses didn't write all the sections of the Torah, if you ask me, but okay. Don't get me started.
There you go. What's up, brother Rosario? What do you got in your mind, my man?
So I was curious about the index of the banned books of the church.
Sure.
And I mean, that was pretty much abrogated, I guess I could say, because we're in the printing age and it's just impossible to just keep track of who has what and what is coming out and what might be potentially dangerous. So I was wondering, with books that were on the index, now that the index pretty much doesn't exist anymore, is it like a free to go now? I can read all those books, or is it still kind of in place even though it technically doesn't exist anymore?
Well, from what I remember, and I don't remember where, I'd have to look it up, the Holy See did announce that the particular, I forgot how you say it in Latin, the Index of Forbidden Books, that those that were under the index, there is no longer carried with it that force of ecclesiastical law, meaning there's no longer a church legal force of preventing you from reading it, in the sense of there are no longer church penalties attached to it. There's no longer updating of the list. The list has been abolished. It was abrogated.
Paul the Sixth abolished it.
It was Paul the Sixth. Yeah. Okay. So was it at the time of Paul the Sixth where the church said it doesn't carry that the force of ecclesiastical law anymore? So I mean, look,
post Vatican II. It was right after Vatican II.
Right. I mean, so the one thing that I would say, I would still say that I think the church has been clear that there is that moral duty and that caution to avoid writings that are dangerous to faith and morals. But in terms of there being ecclesiastical penalties attached to where you can't read any of those books, though, yeah, those have been abrogated.
Okay, because and I guess to give a little bit of background on that, I'm a person, I don't like to be told what to do or what not to do. I'll be completely honest.
Uh-oh.
And there's one specific book I had interest in, which was The Prince,
Hmm.
by Machiavelli. I've read like 3 chapters of it, and I lost my train of thought.
You don't like being told the things, but I mean that's part of being part of the church, though, submitting to the church. Isn't that right, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, nobody. I've never met somebody that says, "Hey, I like submitting to people. I like being told something I don't want to do." Or like none of us like it. That's not the question. Is has the church given you a reason to not submit? I mean, if you're looking at that, not that that's why we do it. It's like, oh, well, they got a good record, so therefore we follow the good record. But really, I mean, what is it that they've hidden from us, so to speak, that hasn't eventually been talked about or they brought out and explained or explained why it was? Like, have they hidden something for you that gives you reason not to trust? I'm kind of curious where you're coming from.
So the reason why I'm interested in The Prince, as maybe you guys know, it kind of deals, with how a successful leader ought to act, what he ought to say, what he ought to hide, what he ought to reveal, etc. And I'm sure someone could read that for benefits of his own in terms of manipulation. Or the angle I was more coming from was, if somebody were to try to do that with me, I can spot those things and not fall for it.
So you're basically saying learning the art of lying, deceiving, and manipulation,
So that won't be done to you.
so that you aren't lied to, and or you know when you're lied to, and you know when you're being manipulated. Is that your point? Is like,
That
I
is
want to
true. Yep.
counter evil. I want to know evil so that I can counter evil.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take papacy, Rome out of the equation. Is how did Jesus How do you think Jesus would answer that? Like, how do you think he would how should we counter deception, lies, manipulation, and those that tried to do that to us? What would you think his answer would be in order to counter that? Learn their techniques, or do you think that
Speak
he
the
would
truth.
say that again? Sorry.
Speak the truth.
Okay. Can you give me an example, like in your mind, like something specific?
Um, Off the top of my head, just now, probably not.
So I guess my question is like, is this a Roman authority issue, or is this more of a look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't know our enemy's tactics. I mean, we're supposed to be sober and vigilant. So we're
Sure.
supposed to be awake and aware of what's going on. But the problem is you talked about how we don't like to be told what to do. We don't like to be told to do this or do that. But we're also very, very prone to dark things. Humans are weird like this. This is why we like scary movies. This is why we like things that are like mysterious. That's why half of these novels, these murder mysteries and stuff like that, are bestsellers because our brains are prone to wander in darkness and explore the dark realm. Is there anything wrong with knowing what's going on in darkness? Not really. But we also need guards because we are naturally drawn toward spiritual entity and movement. And sometimes evil force is more enticing than light. Darkness sometimes works in our broken human nature better than light. Light
Yeah.
repels us. We don't want to run to the light. It repels us. It shows us our problem. Sometimes it's better to creep in the dark. So I think the problem is with some of these works, especially things like Prince, where you're talking about deception and a use of force and how to use war in your favor. we can say that we're coming at it to learn, but we're also getting equipped with bad things, and we're also opening our mind to bad things. And most of the time, I think if you're honest, most humans who delve into that are not going to come out better. They're going to come out worse. Would you agree?
I agree.
Me as well. That's why I'm kind of cautious, and I
Good.
thought, well, William is on, you're on. Let me maybe get your input on it.
I think that we need our job should be to expose the works of darkness. That's what we're told to do. I think you're right about what Jesus would do there. He would counter deception with truth. He would take lies and manipulation and rearrange that. When the devil tempted him in the wilderness and he misquoted scripture to him, Jesus quickly responded with reality and truth that was intended to be given. So
Yeah.
I think if we spend more time in truth than we do in error, it'll actually guard us from error better than learning error. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Right, because one thing, or one saying rather, that also kind of, I would say in a sense, pushed me into that direction of maybe being a little bit curious about those certain things. And you both probably have heard of that saying, that it is better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. And I thought, it's
Yeah.
better to know those things and not use them than to maybe be in a situation where you could need it, but
Sure.
not have it at your disposal. But I mean, what Dr. Boyce says does make a lot of sense.
I agree.
But what we're saying is that we haven't been equipped properly without evil instruction. And that's not an issue of trusting the church. It's an issue of trusting God's designs, because God has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness. We have everything that we need. And where do we find that? Where's that fullness? We've been talking about in this program. It's in the church.
Yep.
And so that's, to me, a trust issue more than anything. Is like, so what we're saying is God didn't give us enough within these things that he's provided for us. We need to go do more. And that's not an issue of trust in the church. To me, that's an issue of trust in the Lord.
I agree.
All right. Yeah, that
Anything else,
was
brother?
that was my only thing that I had.
No, I'm
Hey,
not
brother,
saying
thank
that
you.
we shouldn't. I'm not saying we shouldn't be aware. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, read things. I'm just saying there's a reason that these cautions and forbidden statuses are put on some stuff. And I think we should be very, very wise as serpents, as gentle as doves.
There's no doubt. Agreed. Anything else, brother? Anything else, brother?
No, that was it. That was it.
Hey, brother. God bless you. Thank you for coming up, my friend. Talk to you again soon, brother.
All right. God bless you both.
You take care, brother. Thank you so much for that. Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if you've ever done that. AB, shout out to the brother AB. The brother AB says a show on the canon of scripture would be great. You done that?
Well, my doctorate's in canonicity, so I've done a lot on the canon.
You've done a ton. You've done a ton. Yeah.
I've written papers on the canon. I would not recommend them. I was so Protestant at the time.
Uh-oh.
I haven't done.
As a Catholic, have you done shows in the canon? That's a good question. Well, you've done with us, and we've had you on the Apocryphal Apocalypse multiple times. But I mean, like on your channel, have you done maybe a series or anything?
I've done a series on individual books, like the Book of Revelation, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, Jude, James. I've done the whole New Testament, defending the canonicity status of New Testament books and some of the Old Testament books. The only thing I haven't done, but that wasn't while Catholic either. But honestly, my opinion hasn't changed.
Sure.
Because there's really no dispute in the New Testament. The only canonicity arguments that I would need to update and spend more time on, and I've made comments to, is the deuterocanonical books.
Sure. Right. Which is something you would consider doing in the future.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. That's awesome. That's great. And James, thank you for the support. He says, I guess the subtle doctor, blessed Duns Scotus, isn't a saint according to Dr. Boyce, unless I'm misinterpreting him. He's only blessed as well, beatified by Pope St. John Paul II.
Well, I was making a distinction beatified and canonized
Yeah,
because Urban II is beatified but not canonized.
yeah,
That's all I was saying.
yeah. That's
So
all
I'm
you were
not sure what
saying.
he means. So I'm not sure what he means in the first part of his question.
Yeah, and you really all that you meant was not in the full canonical sense of a canonized saint, but as Dr. Boyce knows, we've spoken about it before. When they're called blessed, they're recognized as being in heaven. So I don't remember the stages. Somebody's going to catch me here. There's one stage when the cause is open. I forgot what it's called. And then there's venerable, and then after venerable is blessed, where you can publicly venerate in certain areas. And then there's canonization, which of course is universal. But beatification is, as far as I recall, I'd be shocked if I was wrong on this. Beatification is recognition as being in heaven. It's just not the fullest step of being canonized as a saint.
Yeah. Yeah. And Urban II was not in the canonized status. And that's not a knock. It's not a bad thing.
No, not
I
at
mean,
all.
we believe he's in the beatific vision. I mean,
Sure.
it's an incredible. He has feast day. He's got, um, we can clearly see the positives of his work. My point is that time period is very odd
Yes.
for the papacy. There's a lot of questions there, and we wonder why why was Urban II not canonized yet? Maybe, I mean, it could still happen. I don't know if they're in a post-conciliar age. I don't know of any popes that'll be canonizing any popes that were around during the Crusades. I could be wrong. I just don't see for somebody like Francis or Leo, not a chance. I mean, we would
Right.
need a very, very conservative, pious X kind of pope to come back to start seeing some of the crusade popes given some canonizations that may like Urban II. I don't know. I could be wrong. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see if Leo the 14th canonizes Leo the 13th. He is yet to be given that opportunity. There's a few I'm kind of curious about what if he'll do any, because he hasn't really indicated what he was going to do, but he chose to be
Right.
Leo the 14th. It's like, are you going to canonize your predecessor? I mean, he's
I thought he was
mean,
going to. Yeah.
late 19th century. I mean, we're talking late 19th century. He's still not been
Yeah.
canonized.
I mean, there's still plenty of time by the grace of the Lord. There's still plenty of
course.
time. But I agree with you 100% there. I thought so as well. But okay, he corrected me, James. James, are you Googling it? Servant of God. Okay. So servant of God is when the cause is open. After that, the next step is venerable, where some kind of if I remember correctly, it's like some kind of a virtue is recognized by the church, and then after that, of course, it's blessed, beatified, and then fully canonized. So yeah, James might just know it. He might know it off the top of his head. Okay, we got somebody back here. Do not know if they are legitimate or a troll. If they're a troll, we'll remove them immediately. But they want to ask you about the Book of Enoch. Have you done work in the Book of Enoch?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Perfect. Let's bring up this person. They claim to be Catholic. All right. Do you have a question for Dr. Boyce in the Book of Enoch?
Yes, I do.
Oh my goodness. That's Ari. I thought it was a troll.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can hear a voice now. Pope. What's the 6?
I gotta give it her. She had me.
You
I
should
was
know that
getting ready to
you
nut.
should know that he's one of my favorites. I talk about him a lot. So I
Yeah,
don't know
but
why
you didn't have a name. You had a dot, and
I know I
then
wasn't gonna use his name, but then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna use his name. Maybe he'll take me seriously. So I put in his name. I put in his name. I would have thought you would have known
So
his
you
name.
thought throwing a pope's name on there that doesn't exist would work out great? I mean, that's.
I mean,
I'll tell.
whether
I'll
he
take what I-
exists. I mean, he did exist, but he just
But he's
wasn't
dead.
our pope.
So I don't know what we're talking about.
That's not the point here, Dr. Boyce. Okay,
Well,
the point here is that
tell me what the point is. I'm missing it, but go ahead. You could have
you're
just showed
so
it as
sassy
Ari.
today. I'm just
I
kidding.
He is.
listen. It's 10:49, and I didn't go to bed to 1:30 in the morning last night. But I'm good. Go ahead. What you got, Art? Well,
All right, all
Enoch's
right.
great. Enoch's good. What you got?
Yeah. All right. So, um, in your opinion, because I know the Ethiopians, I know
Mhm.
they do have the Book of Enoch. So, in your opinion, do you think there would ever be a time where we would accept the Book of Enoch in the future?
No.
If so, why?
Well, I think the canon's closed. I think the church has been explicit on that. As far as some would say that it's technically not. I've actually heard Catholics try to argue that it's not.
Terrible arguments. Terrible arguments.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Yeah.
you know him, so I'll just leave it at that.
They do.
Uh,
Leave it at that. Leave it at that.
but
And don't even stir Ari if Ari will say it.
so here's the problem with Enoch, right? First of all, there's 3 books of Enoch. There's First Enoch, Second Enoch, Third Enoch. Second Enoch is known as the Slavonic Enoch. Third Enoch's it's more of a Hebrew Enoch. It's very different. First Enoch is actually split into 5 books. So you got 3 Enochs, but First Enoch is the one that most people are talking about. Split into 5 books. The problem with these 5 books is identifying them. For example, the Book of the Watchers is probably one of the older sections. It's the one that's talked about probably by Jude when he's referencing them. It's very parallel with Genesis. Then you have the Book of the Parables. You have the Dreams and Visions, the Epistle of Enoch. Some of these are probably not even until post Jesus, post apostles. So there's an argument about what is First Enoch, because First Enoch isn't one coherent book. It's 5 books split into one book. And those 5 books range for almost 400 years, roughly 300 at best, 300 to 400 years. So how do we identify a book like that has no connection to Enoch at all, number one? Number two, if there is a connection to Enoch, it's oral tradition that was later put down in Second Temple Judaism. And then you have things that have Christian influence on it that's not even relevant to the other parts of Enoch. So its dates can be somewhere from like 3rd century BC to the 1st century CE. And it's problematic too on which form it is. Like, we don't really argue the form of the New Testament or even the Old Testament, but the form of it, like, for example, they found sections of it in the Dead Sea Scroll in Aramaic, most of which was in K4. Then you have also Latin and Greek, but the most preserved form of it is really going to be the Ethiopic or in the Ge'ez language. And that's why the Ethiopic church uses it. But even the Ethiopic text is split into 2 families. There's not a coherent text. So Cave 1, Cave 4, Cave 1 has some in Hebrew, some sections were split into Latin, Greek, and then you also have Aramaic. Not that those are bad things, but what we find is whatever Enoch was in some communities was not the Enoch used in Ethiopia.
Wow.
There was not a coherent, universal, collected Enoch the way we see it in the Ge'ez language. And even in the Ge'ez language, there's 2 families of readings within Enoch. So until we can identify what Enoch is, we need to stop talking about it being canonical, because what Enoch was to Qumran is not what Enoch was in Ethiopia. And so there's overlap, there's similarities like the Book of the Watchers. But it seems like I would even argue in some senses that the Qumran communities would hold the Book of the Watchers as its own thing. That it would never, especially those that were copying these 3rd century, how are we going to argue that sections, for example, like, again, I would say the Book of the Watchers is probably 2nd century BC. We have Aramaic copies of it. But then there's sections like of the parables talking about the Son of Man or talking about those things. But the problem is we have sections where Enoch is probably 1st century AD. And the people that were in Qumran would never have had access to that section of Enoch. So if you were to go to Qumran and say, hey, Book of Enoch, they're like, what, the Book of the Watchers?
No.
And then if you're going to try to bring these first century AD texts to them, they're going to have no clue as to what you're referring to because they didn't exist yet. It wasn't even finished till later, 100, 200, 300 years after they died. So I find it it's just not probable to talk about Enoch in a canonical form when there was no canonical form until the Ethiopian text.
I just realized she has your image.
What's that?
During she changed the photo to
You like
your
the new image?
During the debate. You made that face. What did he make that face, Ari? When they were making, I forgot, they were making some horrible
It's when all of you guys were arguing and Dr. Boyce was just like looking really confused. He was watching you literally yell at Salvador
I forgot.
and then I don't have the image of where you're holding your icon yet, Dr. Boyce, but I'm gonna get a screenshot of that too.
You got to get that one, Ari. You got
because that one is that icon. The way you just slowly were just holding it to your chest.
That one, right, Ari? That one there.
Yeah, there you go. Your St. Michael one, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, I think I just sat there and hugged it for a minute, but
because you were so confused about what was going on.
I just sat there. You were yelling at them about the rules because they were trying to change the rules.
Yeah,
and I'm just sitting there like they were just trying to sort it out, and I'm like, oh man.
You're like, somebody translate what's going on.
Is that true? Let me just interrupt very briefly, Ari. Is that true there? As AB says, the Book of Watchers, does it have terrible angelology?
Well, the reason that they're probably saying, I don't think so. I mean, I think the reason they're going to say that is, well, let's let them explain themselves. Are you talking about the Genesis 6 sons of God analogies?
He might be referring to that. I think AB's the faithful Catholic. He's I'm guessing he might be referring to that.
So are you saying that you believe that the sons of God in Genesis 6 are the descendants of Seth and Cain intermingling? What is your position here?
Yeah, I'm curious what he has to say there.
Because what is in Enoch is actually some of the earliest interpretations of what was going on.
I was under the impression it had bad angelology too, but I have not studied it the way you have. Well,
I'd like to know what they mean by bad angelology. If they're talking about Genesis 6 from the perspective that the sons of God were angels of God that came down and were fallen beings, and that they actually, had sexual relations with the daughters of men and had unnatural births, creating this disruption in the Imago Dei. If that, I don't know if that's what he's referring to.
That could be.
To me, I have an issue with that because Calvin championed this idea that it was the sons of Seth and the sons of Cain that were intermingling. I don't buy that. I actually think Genesis 6 was angelic beings. I actually think Enoch, and by the way, you can't just reject Enoch here because you have to reject the earliest rabbinical teachings. And angels cannot procreate in the sense of their spiritual being, meaning a spirit cannot impregnate a physical being. I don't know of anybody that would disagree with that. But here's the problem. The angels, if you go to Jude's account, they changed form. They left their habitation. They took on something that was not themselves. Perfect example of this is in Genesis. When the angels that came with the angel of the Lord to Abraham, they actually sat down in physical forms and ate physical meals with Abraham.
Right.
The two of them went into Sodom. They must have been very handsome men looking beings because the Sodomites wanted to have sexual relations with them. And these same beings grabbed the hand of Lot and pulled him out of Sodom. So these are spirits. Well, spirits don't have physical hands to grab Lot's hand and yank him out. Spirits don't eat physical food the same way we do. So angelic beings must have some ability, or at least these left their habitation, as Jude says. And by the way, the words that are used there in Jude are very similar to what Paul uses for the body. So I'm not saying they're like some weird Transformers or something.
Sure,
But
sure.
they obviously took on something that was not what they were supposed to be. So in the spiritual form, Jesus talks about we'll be like the angels, neither given into marriage and procreating. That is, in that sense, there's clearly not going to be in the angels as spirits are not going to produce spiritual or be able to produce physical humans. However, if they are able to take on another form and they are to produce offspring from physical to physical, then something will be unnatural about their children. And in my perspective, and it has always been this, that the spirits, that these beings, if you would, that Peter talks about in 2 Peter 2, Jude talks about in his letter, that they were fallen beings that were doing something in the days of Noah that was in order to corrupt the image of God. They were trying to distort the Imago Dei. Well, why is that? Well, if you look at it, what ends up happening? Well, the Genesis 3 account is explicit. That the seed of the woman, which is already an anomaly. Women don't carry the seed, men do. So the seed of the woman is already this anomaly, would crush the head of the serpent, that there would be warfare between her seed and the seed of the serpent. Well, here's a problem with that. Satan has no offspring. He has no seed. He has no sperm, if you would. So, but there's going to be this offspring of Satan that is in battling with the offspring. So that's not something that's like futuristic. And Satan did not know the time or the seasons into which the Son of God was going to be born, nor did, I love how Ignatius of Antioch actually talks about this, that God outsmarted Satan on the incarnation in Mary. Like he totally tricked him. Like he tricked the devil. Like the devil did not know what was happening. He didn't have a clue as to when that would be. It's interesting to me that when Seth is born, he is called this idea of his father. Like he must have looked like Adam. He must have been just like his dad. It's unique when you start seeing these circumstances where Satan doesn't know who the next one would be. Even Eve was unsure. When she had Cain, she says that she had received a man-child of the Lord. I think that she believed that Cain was probably this promise. She wasn't told when this child would come from the seed of the woman. The Lord has given me a man-child. I think that she had made a mistake. I think that she had believed that Cain was actually going to be the one. When you look at the genetic makeup, what happens in Genesis 6? It says that Noah was perfect in his generation. He found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and he was perfect in his generation. What does that mean? It means his genetic offspring was not corrupted by whatever in the world was going on. Right. And so I think he had a pure bloodline. The whole point of Satan doing these things, and I can give more examples, was to corrupt the bloodline, to prevent the seed of the woman from coming and crushing his head. The way to do that is crush the Imago Dei.
Great point. Really, really good point.
So there's a lot of theories there.
Ari was still asking something, but she, I think she lost connection. He's asking.
She's like Salvador. She ran off.
She ran, man. What happened, Ari? Why are you running, Ari?
She wanted Enoch in the Bible, and I pretty much disproved it, and now she's gone.
I don't know what happened, man. Ari, what happened? He says, Dr. Boyce, I see what you're saying. Were the angels sent to watch over man? Once angels have accepted their tasks, their will is fixed.
I'm grabbing a Bible. 1 second.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Hopefully Ari comes back. Ari, I think she had another question. In fact, while you grab your Bible, give me one moment. I am going to get me some more water. I'll be like maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm going to read this while you're doing that.
Yeah, go for it.
So what ends up happening here, it's a great question. First of all, the nations were given over to the powers. Deuteronomy talks about this. It's actually quite fascinating because there's actually a translational error here. And I'm actually going to, let me see if I can pull it up on the screen. Because there are disputes in the Deuteronomy 32 passage about how this reads in the Hebrew, because the Masoretic text actually demonstrates to us that the reading is the sons of Israel. However, the Dead Sea Scrolls prove to us that it was actually the Bain Elohim, the sons of God. The Septuagint reads the angels of God. And I'm just going to pull it up. It's in verse 8, chapter 32. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he separated from the sons of men, some have it translated this, he fixed boundaries to the people according to the numbers of the sons of Israel. Here's the problem here. The Masoretic text demonstrates this reading, which is much, much later. You understand the Masoretic text was done by the Masorenes really in the 9th, 10th, and 11th century when this section was covered. We now know that's not the oldest Hebrew reading. It's not even the oldest reading at all. When we look at the Septuagint, all this time it had angels of God. And the Septuagint reflected an earlier Hebrew reading. Well, now we kind of know what that Hebrew reading is with the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the Bain Elohim. It's the sons of God. Same word used in Genesis 6, by the way. And so these angels were given power over the nations, separated by them. Now, this is unique. Because when you look at it from Daniel, you have the sons of God in Genesis, but Daniel actually starts speaking of nations that are empowered by these angels. Israel is represented by Michael, the archangel. He's called their prince. But when Gabriel was trying to get to Daniel the message, he was prevented by the prince of Persia. The prince of Persia. Now, this can't just be a man, right? Gabriel, one of God's mighty angels, was not going to be prevented by flesh and blood. So he, the prince of Persia, must have been empowered by a spiritual being that was over this nation. Then he tells Daniel, I am going to fight with Michael, your prince, against this prince of Persia. Then he says, when I leave, the prince of Greece will come to you. Now, Greece is not even conquered at this point. So there's a rise of the Greco Empire because there's another power rising that started in spiritual warfare before the physical warfare. Now, think about this too. When Ezekiel, for example, is prophesying to these kings, like the king of Tyre, he starts speaking about the king of Tyre as if he was in the Garden of Eden and all kinds. It's like, wait, whoa. Like, there's only a few people that have been in the Garden of Eden, and it wasn't the king of Tyre. You also see this in the king of Babylon in Isaiah 14, talking about this being that was ascending into the heavens above the stars of God, saying he'll be like the Most High, yet he's cast down to the earth. It's like, was he talking to the king of Babylon? Or is he talking about the devil here? Because it sounds a lot like the fall of Satan. And the answer is yes, because behind every physical empire that has been arisen in the Old Testament, these old covenant teachings, what we find is that there were spiritual beings who were given jurisdictions over those territories, who are raising up leaders, pagan leaders, to do their bidding. And so that these spiritual battles that are happening in the Old Testament are being performed by a defense of spiritual entities, including Israel. Their great prince was Michael. We, the church, are defended by the great Michael, the archangel. He is our great prince now. He is the prince over the covenant communities. However, I do think that there was a divine council that was assembled in the old covenant. However, when Jesus was given all the kingdoms of the earth, there is no more a divine council. I think that these demonic powers were disarmed and cast into the earth, and we are battling them every day. They are fallen beings. They're demonic powers. We're fighting them today, and they are completely pissed off. However, I do think there was a divine council of both evil and good angels who are organizing and working in the universe, and that we're doing we see this in Job 1, Satan and his these beings coming before the Lord.
We sure do.
We see this with Ahab. God wanted to have Ahab deceived to go into battle, and a lying spirit comes forward and says, I'll do it. And God says, how are you going to do it? And he tells him how. So I do think that these angels are watching over these nations. They were leading these nations. They were powers behind the nations. However, I will say that there's also a personalized section of this too. Jesus talks about these little children. Their angels do always behold the face of my Father.
Right.
Meaning that these children, Jesus said, had angels assigned to them. Hebrews says we entertain angels unawares. So yeah, I do think that angelic beings are interacting with us, that they are guarding us. I think we do have guardians as the covenant community people of God. But I also think but I do think in the Old Testament, there was a divine council of angelic beings who were ruling nations, who were overseeing. And that's why these gods that are coming into play, think about the psalmist. When talking about Molech, what did they accuse the children of Israel doing? You sacrifice your children to demons.
Yeah.
That's what the psalmist says. Molech was not just an image, it was an entity, a power behind it. Baal was a power. These weren't powerless items of wood and gold. They were demonic entities that inhabited these things. And men were worshiping demons because these nations, that's why God said, don't blend with them. Right. Don't intermingle with them. They're going to turn your heart to idols and fallen gods. So yeah, I do think that was happening in the Old Testament. Most definitely happening.
Great layout, the tremendous layout. And Ari, if you're coming back, Ari, we'll bring you up. How long you got, brother? About 5, 10 minutes?
It wasn't Leo the 12th, by the way, that wrote the St. Michael prayers. Leo the 13th.
Leo 13th, that's correct. Yep. How are you with time, brother? 5, 10 more minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
All right, let's do it. Let's go a few more minutes. All right. James, shout out to you, James. God bless you, brother. Thank you for the support. He says, there isn't any law forbidding reading it. This is about yeah, that's correct. But morally, yep, one should not read any books on it. Nihil obstats are still given to affirm nothing contrary to church teaching, and imprimaturs are still given to approve its publication. That's true. That is true. And I think we said that earlier, right? I think we said that earlier. Did. Look, if it's a terrible book, man, don't read it. If it's been on the list, there's probably a reason. I think the church knows a little bit better than us, right? A little bit.
I would say so. I mean, they've been around longer than we have.
You got that right, brother. You got that right.
What happened to Ari? I mean, I ruined Enoch.
She's back. She's back. Here she is. What's up, Ari? Sorry about that. It was my fault because I put a different question up and I derailed it. Ari, forgive me. Ari's probably looking at me like that right now.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
What's up, Ari?
I'm used to being disappointed every day. So,
all right.
That's all good.
So did I disappoint you on Enoch? Or do you have further?
Yeah, you absolutely crushed me, you know. I wanted it to be
you could still read it. I mean, read it.
She's joking around, man.
I'm joking. I'm trolling.
Second Peter and Jude quote it, so therefore knock yourself out. Read it.
You know, I just wanted to, I was gonna use that for my future wedding one day and all, but here you come, ruining it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just trolling. So I do have another question, Dr. Boyce. So, in your expert opinion, so I know, like I've heard your story, and I do watch your shows, and I learn a lot from them. They help me get through my 10-hour shifts at work, so it's a lot of fun because I download the episodes on Spotify, and I'm not even kidding. I listen to I've been binge watching your entire episodes on Spotify, so it's been really nice. Yeah.
Wow.
So 10 hours every day, so you can imagine how I feel.
Oh my goodness. I'd get sick of hearing myself if I heard myself that long.
Well, to be honest, I'll listen to 2 episodes straight, and then I'll listen to a little bit of music, and then I'll go back and then I'll go ahead and I'll play
too. Yeah, I'd get sick of me too.
I mean, you and Pat do an incredible job on the show, so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I probably listen to you more than I listen to anybody else, which is crazy to say.
Wow, dang. William's right here. You said that right in front of
me. Okay, but that's only at work though. But in the evenings,
cry, man.
Listen, in the evenings I'll listen to William. in the evenings I'll listen to William, but like usually at work, because your episodes upload like the next day if I'm not mistaken. So it's really easy. I could just like binge listen to like a bunch of them. So it helps.
Take what I
Because
can
I get
get.
I get sick and tired of hearing him every evening, so I need somebody new to listen to.
What a hater you are.
I mean, anyway, but my other thing is I know that you were Anglican at one point.
Mhm.
So I guess and obviously you chose Catholicism. So I guess during your process, I guess, into like looking into Catholicism, was orthodoxy not a like an option for you, or was that not even something that you even like considered, or was
Yeah.
Catholicism, was it just something that you just
Good question, Ari.
decided to just jump into?
Yeah, I had a guy in the comments the other day talk about how I, should have considered orthodoxy, and I said, "How do you know I didn't?" So no, I did consider orthodoxy. The problem I had with orthodoxy was twofold. Number one, um, when you look at the Orthodox connections today, it's very difficult to find unity. I understand we have issues in the West here too, but like the Russian Orthodox, Constantinople, their communication, their lack of recognition, and calling each other heretics and things like that. That was problem number one. The bigger issue, and I'd already dealt with that with Anglicanism. It's like, oh, we're Anglican, but we don't accept you over here. And if you come over here, you got to do this different and that different. I already saw that kind of dysfunction. I didn't want to deal with that again. Number two, the bigger issue is, to me, the Orthodox have, despite how they feel about the fourth, everybody talks about 1054. Everybody talks about the Great Schism of the Filioque. The real schism to me happened after that. The real schism was particularly brought down to what happened in the Fourth Crusade in Constantinople when Rome took a lot of the relics and items back to Rome. I would argue they were protecting a lot of it too, but nonetheless, there were some things that Rome probably shouldn't have done. But I think that that's the true schism that comes from it. And it's amazing how certain things didn't bother most patriarchs in the East before that. It's like, oh, filioque. Then you have Maximus the Confessor and others actually explaining that it's not a problem. But then it becomes a problem again once the West does something the East doesn't like. So the change of language of what they say, well, we only recognize the Pope this far and we refuse to accept this. But then you actually go back to their history, especially the ecumenical councils that they had together. They signed on to papal infallibility. They signed on to Leo's tome. They signed on to recognizing the Pope not just as a first amongst equals, but also a position at the chair of Peter that was supposed to continue on and hold that position, hold it with perfection to the end of the ages. And they signed on to these things. And so to me, the only thing that changed is how they felt about Rome post-schism. Pre-schism, the East had no problem affirming papal infallibility. They had no problem affirming jurisdictional leadership. In fact, they had no issue with this when the Pope interacted in Constantinople, when Chrysostom was wronged and he was being mistreated by the East. They had no problem that he came in and corrected it. Of course, unfortunately, Chrysostom died before the Pope was actually able to intervene and reinstate him.
Yeah.
And he made the followers reinstate him after his death and reinstate his doctrine and his teaching and set up in Constantinople. They had no problem with him overstepping his boundaries to come in and fix the problem that happened with Chrysostom in Constantinople. That doesn't sound like a jurisdictional situation that's only limited to Rome. So again, the longer I studied the Orthodoxy, to me, it's inconsistent. I don't find it compelling. It's like, these things were fine then. You had no problem with this Pope stepping in and fixing your problems here. You had no problem with Leo's tome saying, I don't even need, he basically said he didn't even need an ecumenical council for the doctrine to be firm. So
that's correct.
For them to sign on that, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, we never saw him that way. We held him as a an important person, and I just don't find that to be compelling. And so if Rome falls, the East falls with it. And that if the papacy fails, the East fails. Because what so far as the papacy has been held as for years and years, and the jurisdictional approach of the Pope for years, if that failed, then the East failed with it because they signed on to it. I know they want to unsign it, but like they signed on with it. So I just couldn't accept Orthodoxy. Although I think I love the Orthodox. The John Chrysostom liturgy is one of the most beautiful liturgies I've ever been a part of. I like that the Orthodox are far more conservative right now on some things than the Catholics, but I didn't want my decision to be political, because there's also liberal Orthodox too. So, so I didn't want it to be a political decision. I like the beards better on the bishop. I like the tradition of the East very, very much, but there's also Eastern Rite Catholics. So
there sure are.
I think one of the things that, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Boyce, but I see a lot of people that get attracted to Orthodoxy because of the spirituality in general. Because they kind of look, I feel like they kind of look at Catholics and they don't really see a large majority of Catholics really deep into like prayer and all that. And then you look at the Orthodox, and so from like an outside perspective, you're like, man, these Orthodox seem way more spiritual than some of these than some of these other Christians, like even Catholics in general.
Well, they are stricter. I mean, their fastings are much stricter than what a lot of. It's so annoying to listen to Catholics complain about fasting. It's like, are you kidding? Have you seen the Orthodox fasts?
That's what I'm saying. It's
we've got it easy.
Look at the Dormition fast, man. That's wild.
And I will say this, Dr. Boyce. There was, because I do listen to your podcast. So about the time of last year, I almost left the Catholic faith. And it actually was your podcast, because of the episodes that I was listening to, as even like on the councils and all that. It was actually that actually stopped. That was a part of the reason why I actually stopped.
Oh wow.
Why I actually stopped, and I actually didn't end up converting, because there were certain episodes that stood out to me that really, like, there were some really good points that you and Pat were making on certain episodes that I was like, man, how can I possibly get around that? Like, there is no possible way to get around it. And so when I went back and I re-listened, and I had like taken some notes, and I went back and I fact checked you guys, and I was like, these guys are right. Like, there is no way to get around certain things. So I was like, so because I was really studying more of the doctrinal stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of things that came into play into why I didn't leave the Catholic faith, but I was very, very close to leaving. But like, your podcast was actually one of the reasons why I did not convert.
Wow. And I wasn't even Catholic for most of last year, so that's great. We were heading that direction quietly, but yeah, I mean, we were attending Catholic Mass and being bent that direction, but we were technically still Anglican. So.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot that you guys were bringing up that I was like, man, I can't really argue with some of these things, and so it did quite help out a lot, to be honest.
That's awesome.
And it's really good, because I know you guys were like leaning towards the part of becoming Catholic, but like, it was interesting to hear it, because here's the thing. You could listen to 1,000 apologists, and 1,000 Catholic apologists make their case on why somebody should be Catholic, right? But when you are listening to somebody who isn't even fully Catholic yet,
right? Yeah, on their journey,
and somebody who is actually studying it from different lenses, and is actually diving deep into these things, and isn't just bringing the same pathetic arguments that most people would make, or talking about the same basic things, like, you start to look at it and you're like, well, I'm like, these guys aren't even fully Catholic, and yet they're here talking about this, they're here talking about that. So it's just, in a way, it made me look at it from a different lens, because as much as embarrassingly enough, because I grew up cradle Catholic, I was very poorly catechized. So it wasn't that long, several years ago, until I actually started to like dive deep into what the church was teaching in general. But I felt like you guys were doing a much better job at educating me about my own faith than I had kind of expected. So it was really interesting to get to see that, and obviously very cool. I got excited when you guys like converted, and I was like, yay! Um, but yeah, you guys gave me a lot to really think about, and it's nice because we're hearing it from a different perspective, and it's not just the same. Because here's the thing, like let's say for example, like comparing you and William. William could make a really good case because he's a Catholic himself, but you, as if you, because you weren't Catholic, you look at it from a very completely different lens than he does. And
I'm a
so
convert,
that
Ollie.
yeah,
What are you
so
talking
that
about? I'm a convert too.
no, but I'm saying like because you've been Catholic longer than he has.
Oh,
I'm assuming so, right? Because I
I
mean, Dr.
have, but
Steven,
we make a
that's
lot of
what
the same arguments. So
I,
what he just laid out in the papacy is the exact same thing that I say. On the
that's
Orthodox
not my
argument.
point. That's not my point. I'm saying like you guys look at it from a different lens. You've been
Okay,
Catholic a lot longer than he has. That's what I'm
sure.
saying. So that's why it for me it's a little different, you know? I've never watched you when you were when you like before you even converted or anything, so I wouldn't
Oh
know.
yeah, it was
But I've been
before
following
YouTube.
Dr. Stevens. I've been following Dr. Boyce's journey. So
Yeah,
like
you're watching somebody's journey as they're changing with the
Yeah,
evidence, and that's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so so that's what I meant. But yeah, so I just wanted to point that out there.
No,
And
I
then
appreciate that.
yeah. And
That's
then
encouraging for you to keep doing your work, Dr. Boyce. Very encouraging. You never know who you're touching. That's
Telling
amazing.
you,
yeah.
it's crazy.
um also I will say I do have one last question for you, Dr. Boyce. Out of the heretics that you
Oh
that you
no, come
made video
on, Ari. No.
out of the heretics that you made videos and episodes on, who has been your favorite that you've learned about? I know they're all really bad because they're heretics, but like let's be honest, is there a favorite heretic that you kind of that you slightly kind of were just like, you know what, like even though this guy
This
completely
guy's my
sucks.
homie.
I just
Oh
I'm curious
man,
to know if you had like a favorite heretic that you like learning about.
this is like the most sacrilegious thing I've ever been asked. Who's your favorite heretic? Why does he inspire you?
No, I'm saying like just like theology, because here's the thing, like we all know the heretics are really bad, obviously, but I'm saying like there must be an episode where you're like, you know what, this was fun to film because, we got to talk about this guy's heresies, like and how bad it was.
Well,
So
I don't know if he's my
favorite worst
favorite, but
heretic.
I definitely liked covering Pelagius because it really irritated the Protestants because there's a resurgence of Pelagianism and Protestantism today.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
so that's one. Covering Pelagius from a ecumenical perspective because a lot of Protestants are saying that he was wrongly treated in North Africa and Augustine had pretty much silenced him. But the problem is that he was condemned in an ecumenical council too in 431 at Ephesus. So he was condemned in multiple continents as well. So I liked covering Pelagius just from that perspective. I also like Pelagius from the perspective that he appealed to the Pope himself. We actually have a letter that he wrote to the Pope trying to say, I shouldn't be excommunicated. This has been wrong. Why am I being mistreated? And I love it because the people that try to defend him typically reject infant baptism because he seemed to reject some sort of original sin. And but the fact is, even though he rejected original sin, he did not reject infant baptism. He made a defense of infant baptism to the Pope himself, saying that he should be reinstated. So I enjoyed that one. Nestorius is an interesting one too.
Oh.
Oh
So
yay! Okay. This is good. I need to listen to this. I want to hear your thoughts on this because you don't
are you a
understand. I
Are you Nestorian now? Is that what this is?
no, but he's my favorite heretic, and William knows that. I literally for my birthday. You know what I asked William for my birthday gift
An
in April?
icon of Nestorius? I don't know.
No. No, you know what I asked him? I asked him for my birthday. All I want for my birthday is to you to make an Assyrian church of the East Sirius. That's all I
Oh,
want for my birthday, and I want you to touch on Nestorius, and he did.
man, they'll be blowing up my feed if I do any more on Nestorianism. I couldn't believe how many people came to defense of Nestorius. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Well,
In
she's not defending him.
fact-
She just likes learning about him. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I think I think that
Listen. You know he was a fabulous man. I mean, think about it, man. Like, hey, and you know what I learned recently? He held on to the Immaculate Conception, so that's the W. And I will always
He did.
hold to the fact that at least from the only good thing about it was that he held on to the Immaculate Conception.
well,
But I do acknowledge that he's a heretic. But
but we have to be careful here too. And I talked about this on my show. And unfortunately, Cleave to Antiquity abused the heck out of this because he posted my video and talked about how I've been saying this forever. The Catholics venerate heretics because the Eastern Rite in their consecrations do have Nestorius in their consecrations that have come through the Church of the East that have converted through and have come into full communion. But there are sections that have come to full communion with the Pope who are in the Eastern Rite now who do venerate Nestorius. And this is something to consider as Catholics. And this is an argument I made about Origen as well. Is it possible that Nestorianism was taken to great depths of heresy that Nestorius himself did not go? Could he have recanted? Could he have repented? We don't know. We do know a lot of Nestorians did recant after the council.
Sure.
Now, at the same time, it has been stated that Nestorius's followers have radicalized him more than himself. So it is an interesting situation for us Catholics who are in full communion with Eastern Catholics who utilize his name in the Mass.
In the liturgy, yep.
So it's something to consider about there.
So you're telling me I should go to that Mass then?
I think the Eastern Rite is for you.
Clearly. But yeah,
you're looking for an excuse to like the guy. You might as well just go to an Eastern Rite. So.
Yeah, my mother would throw a fit if I ever did that. So
why?
I have a Mexican mother. I have a Mexican mother.
It doesn't matter. You can take an Eastern. You are fully.
Why are you encouraging me to go to a Mass where they mention Nestorius, dude?
Because you're in full communion with these people. The Eastern Rite are in complete communion with the Pope. There is no wrong. You, William, and I can go to an Eastern Rite Mass today and fully participate in their sacraments.
Yep.
We can go to confession.
I can't believe you're trying to tell me to do so.
It's not wrong.
You know what's funny is that I'm definitely gonna clip this, man. And I'm gonna be like Dr. Boy, and I'm gonna title it Dr. Boyce trying to convince veneration of Nestorius.
I'm not saying you should go and venerate him. I'm saying you have every right doctrinally, ecclesiastically, to go to an Eastern Rite and experience their Mass and even hear his name in their Mass and in their prayers. Like you are in complete communion with the Pope. You did not go into heresy if you do that.
It's really interesting to know. Not that I'm gonna do it, but like
it's not wrong.
And I understand that, but it's still wild to me. Do you believe that he was wrongly condemned at the Council of Ephesus? Because I've heard certain people make that claim.
They're going to clip you to infinity if you say yes, and you're done for.
No, I want to hear his thoughts.
All right.
I want to hear his thoughts.
His teaching, if it is what was condemned at Ephesus, if he believed it, he is a condemned man. If he believed what was alleged about him to be believed in Nestorianism, he is a condemned man. So at that point, he is condemned. The difference between Nestorius and Origen himself, his writings weren't condemned until hundreds of years after his life. Nestorius was condemned in his lifetime. What we don't know is if Nestorius, we don't know what happened to him after the Council of Ephesus. We know some of his followers radicalized his teaching later, but his trail disappears. So we don't know what happened to him.
You do hold that the Bazaar you do hold he is the author of the Bazaar?
I think he was involved. I don't know. I don't know if he was completely behind all of it, but I certainly believe he was involved.
Okay.
He was aware, minimally.
By the way, that is a work attributed to him, Ari, the Bazaar that we're talking about there. So Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her favorite. It's her favorite writing.
She knows it all, man. She's got an icon there in her wall, man. She knows it,
I mean,
man.
look at that. Look at that. I even built him a shrine in my room. It's okay, guys.
I'm looking it up. I'm gonna look up the Easter. I'm looking it up right now.
You know, but hey, you know what? You know what made my entire night hearing the Dr. Boy said that that was the second one that he enjoyed filming about
He did.
that right there.
He
See,
did.
and I see. I knew I liked you, Dr. Boyce. I knew I liked you for a reason.
Stay away from the heretics. Stay away from Pelagius.
I don't care for Pelagius, but Nestorius, man, like, listen, Nestorius, the Immaculate
my
Conception,
homie.
that right there, like, that makes me besties with Nestorius. Doesn't mean I'll ever become Nestorian though. But
Good.
still, I will at least I will at least hold on to the fact that he believed in the Immaculate Conception. So that to me right there is like amazing.
I was trying to find the Chalcedonian. Let's see. I'm gonna have to try to pull it up. I was reading about this not long ago.
What was that?
Where the Church of the East, those in the Church of the East, they came into full communion with the Pope. They were allowed to take a lot of their liturgical stuff with it. Which
that was in the 90s, I think. I'm not sure.
Was it the 80s or 90s? Was it? It was under JP2.
I think it was in the 90s. I'm not entirely certain.
There's a section in there. Chalcedonian Catholic Church.
I'm not sure.
There it is. Yeah, because there's people that came over like Nestorius from their liturgies, and I was trying to pull it up. I know it was JP2.
It was, yep.
Because it was like the Catholic, what do they call themselves? Syrian Catholics or Catholic Assyrians or whatever it is?
I think Syrian Catholic, yeah.
I cannot believe, and I don't know. She can go. She can actually attend one of their masses.
She's not going to do that.
I thought it was
can.
I thought it was the Chaldean church, wasn't it? At one point, like they weren't they the ones that like kind of Nestorius in their
Chaldean?
mass? Chaldean, right?
Yeah.
Is it the Chaldean or something? I don't remember.
Could be.
But I've heard about it ish. I think somewhat. I don't remember where.
I'll try to find it. I'll try to send it to you. I think it's gonna be.
Send it to me. Look it up and send it to me. Yeah.
I'll find it because I was reading about it not long ago. It's a Syriac church. I mean, it's the Syriac.
Or maybe some did become Chaldean. I don't know.
I think it was the Chaldeans, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Could be right,
that about about my homie, over here.
Well, they're not venerating him as a saint. I mean, they're not sitting there, but my point is he is mentioned in their liturgies, and it's not in a damning way.
Sure. Not condemning way, yeah.
But either way, W Nestorius, that's all I gotta say. Dr. Boyce is so disappointed in me, but it's okay.
Your bishop should excommunicate you.
Yeah, I know. I should be excommunicated, man. But it's okay. I'll be excommunicated with my homie over here. It's all good. But yeah, I was just very curious to hear your thoughts on it. And I'm actually fairly surprised that you've done work on the Book of Enoch. I wasn't sure if you knew about it or. I mean, I assume that you probably knew a little bit.
Canonicity, it'd be hard not to.
Yep. Chirana says, I've met several Nestorians that were followers of John MacArthur. He's responsible for quite a few modern historians. He's shocked at that. I'm not surprised at all.
It's so
true. No shock there, man. Yeah, no shock there. That's pretty common among the MacArthur followers. There's no doubt about that. Did you have another question, Ari?
No. I think that would be my questions for right now. I think, other than I just want to say, Dr. Boyce, I appreciate, in all seriousness, I do appreciate your work and the impact that you've had a bit on my faith journey and helping me work through some of these things, because your episodes, like, there's so many things that I had so many questions on, and so getting to listen to you and Pat for 10 hours straight at work, surprisingly, some things do stick, and it's helped me make a lot of sense on a lot of different things, and I'm usually very skeptical when I when I listen to certain people, but I think you guys have done great work, and I think it's definitely helped me. There are times where maybe I have certain questions about certain things, and even William could testify that a lot of it's been inspired by the episodes that you do, or episodes that I've listened that maybe like I need more clarification on. And I think William has, and I've told William, oh, this question is inspired by this episode because I was listening
Oh
to
yeah,
Dr.
yeah,
Boyd
yeah,
say
yeah,
this
yeah.
and that.
You're right. You're right. I remember now.
Mm,
Yeah.
So I have done that, just because I don't want to blow up your phone, Dr. Boyce, and you'd be like somebody like, I don't want to end up on your block list with my millions of questions, but that's why I come and I annoy William on a daily basis, and
Thanks for
I get
coming
to
up,
ask
Ari.
him.
You never
Yeah,
know. You don't annoy. You don't annoy. Don't worry.
No, thanks
but
for the feedback. I really, really
Thank you, Ari.
appreciate
We
that.
appreciate you. Thank you for coming up.
definitely thank you, Dr. Boyce, for chatting with me and for encouraging me to
To become
to
historian.
appreciate Nestorius even more. W Nestorius, W Book of Enoch, I guess. I don't know.
Thanks,
It's
Ari.
okay.
Talk to you soon.
Anyways, thank you.
Bye. You're gonna make her an historian, man. What did you do,
Oh
man?
my goodness, man.
I'm joking, man. James Tay says, God bless you, James. The Chaldeans don't mention Nestorius in their liturgy, Dr. Boyce. The Syro-Malabars don't either. You're wrong. Not even the Order of Mar Nestorius. So which one does it?
He's saying, and they're the only Assyrians. It's in the Eastern Syriac tradition somewhere. I've got to
Where
find
is it
it
then?
because,
Oh,
well, you actually know who pointed that out to me. It was Michael Lofton.
and he could have been wrong then.
No, I was reading
No,
it.
no.
I literally read it. I just got to find
Oh,
it.
I think I know. I think I saw that particular article online. Where was it though? I mean, James is very, very sharp. Uh, you wouldn't be able to find it off the top of your right now, right? No.
No, I'll have to go back and look. I have it somewhere. There's a link somewhere. I'm just gonna have to scroll and find it. If
Yeah,
I'll
no.
try to, if I send it to you, you can talk about it sometime.
I
Maybe
will. Yeah, no. I definitely will. How about we take one final one? We wrap it
Again,
up.
he's not over there being venerated and
Sure.
treated as a saint. That's
Should
not what
not
it's saying.
be. Definitely should not be. No. Let's take one final question and we'll wrap it up. Bronca with a general comment. Bronca, thank you for the support, brother. And in fact, he also sent 5 memberships, and I'll read them out in a moment. He says, Noah is described as white as snow, red as a rose, with hair white as wool, and eyes that shine like the rays of the sun, illuminating the entire house when he opens them. And then go ahead. What were you going to say? You going to say something about that?
What did I miss something? What are we?
I think he mentioned that earlier. He was bringing that up earlier. I'm not sure what we were talking
Which subject?
about. I think we were talking about maybe the angels when he brought that up. Is that right, Bronca? I think. I'm not entirely certain what we were talking about. It was a little while ago. And shout out to you, Bronca. I do want to call out. Go ahead.
No, he's talking about. I'm assuming he's talking about Enoch because.
Oh, Enoch. Okay.
Yeah, because there's actually, and again, a lot of there's symbolism in there too, and that's the thing that has like
that. Yeah, he says it right there. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of symbolism in there too. I mean, it talks about his body, it talks about his hair, it talks about his eyes. I mean, all of that whole thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Bronca.
Might be true. It's hard to say.
Right. And I want to give a shout out to Bronca. Thank you for the support, brother. I like calling out who got gifted memberships. Jorge Roca, Charbel, Heretic Slayer. I like that name. Soli Me Falconai and DFK. Faithful, do not forget to say thank you to those that sent you a gifted membership. God bless you, Bronca. Thank you for your support. AB said earlier, he said, that's a great point. And that is correct. AB's phenomenal when it comes to spiritual warfare. He says, spiritual warfare is my strongest area, though no demon, even of the highest choir, can be more powerful than even the lowest angel. Morning versus evening knowledge. God can do as he permits. You agree with that?
I don't know how we can prove that.
Perhaps from Aquinas. I imagine he's taken from Aquinas,
well,
perhaps.
Here's the point here's the reason I say that, because when Gabriel was hindered by the Prince of Persia, it clearly demonstrates that he was not winning the way you would want him to win. And that's the thing about spiritual warfare. What does winning look like with immortals battling? I don't really know. The reason that could be true, the lowest angel, if you would, from the Lord's choir, or if you would, from his angelic beings, is because all they have to do is bring the Lord into the situation and they lose.
And it's done for you.
It's kind of like the whole assumption of Moses quotation in Jude when they were fighting over the body of Moses between Michael and the devil. I mean, Michael just stood back and said, the Lord rebuked you. I mean, he brought the Lord into it and ended it. But we do know that Gabriel was hindered by the prince of Persia. It doesn't mean he got beat. It means it delayed his. And then that's another thing too. Like, how does an immortal that is a spirit, not bound the way that we are bound by walls and doors and things like that, how do they get hindered? What prevented travel? If you think about it from that perspective. and then he states that Michael had to relieve him while he went
came to help me. Yeah, I'm reading it. Michael came to help me.
But then he had to go back and fight with Michael. So they kind of tag team, like, you hold him down while I go talk to Daniel, and then I'll be back to help. So these must have been some vicious demonic beings.
Right, for him to have been delayed and then need Michael's assistance. I'd never thought of that.
I'm not saying Aquinas is wrong. I'm not saying that that in relation to who's empowering, those who are on the Lord's side are always going to be able to overcome. That's true of us. Satan has no power over us when we are walking within the very giftings and opportunities that God has given us to win the battle. We're victorious. We're more than conquerors to him who loves us. So, I mean, that's true of us too. And we're mortals. So if we're talking about it from that perspective, I agree. But there are vicious demonic beings that have battled some of God's greatest angels. And clearly, the great Prince Michael won, defeated these enemies. So, but I don't think it's as like he came in, swung a spiritual sword, and that ended the battle in 5 minutes. I mean, if you look at the language, I forget how many days he tells Daniel he was delayed. He tells him he wanted to bring him this message, but he was delayed. It wasn't just a couple of hours.
Does it say how long? 21 days. Yeah.
21 days. So that's an immortal was delayed 21 days by another immortal.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. As it relates to these fighting beings.
That's
but again, obviously Michael ended up, because what ended up happening? The Persian Empire fell.
Right.
Then comes Greece, and the Greco Empire fell. So the key there is, and by the way, I mean, this is, even Paul writes to us as believers at the end of Romans, that even soon Satan would be trampled under our feet. So we are on the winning side.
Oh yeah,
we are on the winning side, and so we have the ability to do this as well. However, I do think that when we're talking about spiritual warfare, there's some vicious battles that took place, even against Satan's angels and the Lord's angels, for sure.
Yeah. Now let's wrap it up after this one. I imagine you said earlier, right? You believe the Nephilim were I think you did believe that they were angels, right? And the Rephaim were giants, I believe, right? I don't remember off the top of my head what you said.
Yeah, the Nephilim and the Rephaim are both in the Torah. Nephilim are Genesis 6. Rephaim come later. In Deuteronomy and so forth, they were the ones that they felt like grasshoppers against. But remember what Moses said. There were Nephilim in those days and after that. So
Right.
I do think they are some sort of corrupted humans. I think there are
Okay.
some sort of fallen corruption where there was some sort of tampering with the DNA of humanity in order to prevent the seed from coming. I think it was a corruption. I mean, if you think about it, we talk about, I don't know. I mean, I'm new to Catholicism, so I'm not going to overstep my boundaries here, but my perspective has always been on Genesis 6. God destroyed entire earth. He killed an entire civilization except for 8 people. And we say, well, it's because the world was evil. Well, it's evil now. I mean, it's probably far more wicked in some ways than what even that was. There must have been a level of evil that was happening to where God said that he was sorry he made man, or that he was remorseful about his creation of humanity. And I don't think that God just wiped out an entire civilization of men, women, and children, drowning out all of these people just because they, had some bad thoughts or were robbing each other in the marketplace, like every other sin and every other civilization. Something required God to bring a human race to extinction that made him say he regretted creating humans, but yet preserved 8 who had perfect generation. They were perfect in their generation. Noah wasn't a perfect man. He was offering sacrifices. He clearly wasn't a perfect man, but it was his generations that were perfect. I think his genetics were untampered with. And that's why he found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So I think what God was doing in destroying the world and killing humanity was that he was wiping out a civilization of corrupted humans that were being tampered with whatever was going on with these Nephilim was corrupting humanity in the Imago Dei.
That's a fantastic viewpoint. What would be your pitch to an Anglican to become Catholic? Why should an Anglican become Catholic?
My pitch to Anglicans have always been that a true Anglican in its patrimony that they love to brag about goes back to days when they were established in Canterbury. And that was done by Pope Gregory the Great. And so a true Anglican is in full communion with Rome and always has been. Anglicans today are schismatic, and they have corrupted themselves so much that they have splintered into so many groups. They're no different than any other Protestant group now. They're not even communing with each other. I mean, look at the See of Canterbury. It is currently inhabited by a woman, bishop. It's a
terrible,
joke.
Terrible.
Canterbury was always at its best when it was in full communion with the Pope. So a true Anglican was established in the See of Canterbury under an archbishop in Canterbury through the papacy. And so being in full communion with the Pope is a true Anglican. That's why I love the patrimony that's been reestablished in the Roman See through the Anglican Ordinariate. And that's why I went through the Ordinariate, because I believe I am what an Anglican was always meant to be.
That's a great point, because if one truly does accept the principles of apostolic succession, sacramental life, the fathers, the ecumenical councils, and even visible church unity, then your argument there, that is the very beating heart of it, that you need that full communion with the See of Rome. That's the completion of the Catholic identity, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. That's what gives you validity and created who you were to begin with.
Yeah. And from your perspective, you're right. From that perspective, I guess you could say Anglican patrimony really isn't rejected, but it's fulfilled, right?
Yes. And I believe I am. That's why I say I am what an Anglican always meant to be. Everybody says, "Oh, Anglican, you left the Anglican Church." I'm a true Anglican, because even in the See of Canterbury, they were allowed to be all of the things that the English patrimony consisted of throughout those years. So, just like the Byzantine Rite has their uniqueness, so do the English. The English Rite had its beauty and its majesty in liturgy. I mean, even Benedict XVI said it was a treasure to be held in the church. He saw the value in it. So,
Ari, thank you for that tremendous question. You all have been tremendous. Brother, put in a plug for your channel in case people don't know where to find you, man. Put in a plug, man. Even though everyone on my channel, you guys, you better be subscribed to my dear friend's channel. But in case you aren't subscribed to Dr. Boyce's channel, brother, where can people find you at, man?
sure. Yeah. I mean, the Facts podcast, I think my @ is actually, I don't know what my @ is anymore. I had to change it recently because somebody said, put your name in it. Yeah. I mean, it was good because they said to put your name in it. And that's what's wrong with me. I've got it right here. Hold on.
Can one of our legendary moderators, moderators
Facts with Stephen Boyce Facts with Stephen Boyce, but you can share it. That'd be great. Or we're on any platform you'd like to listen to on the podcast. Clearly, Ari said she does Spotify, Apple, Podbean, Google Podcasts. We're on 8 total platforms. So you can pick any of our platforms. The Facts podcast, look for the Jerusalem Cross. It's at Facts with Stephen Boyce on
There we
YouTube.
go. We got it right there. Tremendous. Audience, if you have not yet subbed, head over there, faithful. And I want to thank all of you all for your great questions. You all are tremendous. You all are amazing. Very happy that you all are so smart. You guys are great. Brother, thank you for joining me. We'll do it again soon, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, William. Thanks for having me on.
God bless you, brother. You have a great one. Faithful, we're going to close the doors to the dojo. See you all tomorrow. Be blessed, everybody. Oh, whoa. Daniel asked, do you have a 501c3?
Yes.
Okay. There you go, Daniel. You snuck it in, and I was able to ask him before I closed the doors.
In fact, on all of our videos and podcasts, there's a link where people can give toward Facts, and it is you do get a receipt at the end of the year if you want to do a tax write-off.
Awesome. God bless you, everyone. Have a great